no fashion can be found. Call for an appointment at your home. Spell Proctor like doctor.
The news and talk that affects St. Louis.
Classified documents in my home.
To appoint a special counsel.
This is 101.9 and 94.1.
Mass humanity coming across the border.
Negotiation over the debt ceiling.
News Talk STL.
Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. But first, no question there is a concerted effort to intimidate and silence conservative thinkers and replace our God-given individual liberty with big government controls. AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, is the leading conservative advocacy and benefits organization in America. AMAC gives you access to exclusive benefits and all kinds of great content. Please stand with AMAC at amac.us. That's amac.us. On this Thursday, according to an Emerson poll, 58% of Democrats would very much like to see Joe Biden be president through 2028. Yes, the Emerson poll is often wrong, but I think it's safe to say a majority of left-wing Americans like the job the president is doing. That means they approve of the open southern border, a record amount of narcotics being smuggled through that border, food prices up 10% on Biden's watch, the embarrassing exit from Afghanistan, a man who has no regrets that stashed classified documents were found in his garage, and on and on. All good, as the cliche goes, no worries. It is true that Joe Biden has anxiety under control because he doesn't care about solving problems. He says the border's secure, and that's that. Meanwhile, the 6 million foreign nationals who have come across the border since Joe's been in office wonder what an unsecured border would look like. Most presidents in my lifetime have at least tried to fake it. Jimmy Carter attempted a military operation to rescue Americans being held hostage by Iran. Bill Clinton signed a law that forced welfare recipients to try to find work. Donald Trump revitalized a depressed military. So, what's Joe Biden's big win? Nothing. That's what. Yet, millions of Americans are down with nothing. They seem to approve of chaos and failure. They embrace the political abyss. Now this. Many timeshare owners upset their yearly dues continue to increase. Lone Star Transfer is the only company you can trust guaranteeing the release of all liability to your timeshare in writing and in a specific time frame. They've helped more than 18,000 owners legally and permanently get out. So start off the new year right with a free no-obligation consultation, 855-551-7066 or LoneStarTransfer.com. LoneStarTransfer.com. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton with your first alert forecast. Still a chance for some isolated light snow here and there this evening. No accumulation, though. Do watch for the refreeze tonight because our low goes down to 25 degrees. So any meltwater that's not treated out there will turn to ice overnight and tomorrow morning. It'll be cloudy, mostly cloudy in the afternoon. 32 for the afternoon high. A little breezy. Wind chill will be in the low 20s. Friday afternoon, mostly cloudy and a high of 46 as we warm things up. That's the latest first alert forecast. I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com. Having your first cup of coffee? Mike's on his third. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
I know that we like to think of election cycles as being 2022 that just ended. The next one is in 2024. But don't forget, we've got elections coming up in April. Matter of fact, in some places, you've got primaries coming up in March. But when it comes to those April elections, education often is at the forefront because that's when school boards get elected. I'm Mike Ferguson. Thanks for spending part of your morning with us here at News Talk STL. And when you look at education and the battles over curriculum that are happening everywhere, right here in St. Louis and around the country, it's interesting how so much of the national media is zooming in and targeting Ron DeSantis in Florida. Maybe because he could be a presidential candidate, but maybe because he's having a lot of success when it comes to his legislation that he's backing and his executive actions. We talked to Jeff Charles from redstate.com about that and what that battle in Florida could mean for not just us here in the St. Louis area, but the rest of the country. Here's what Jeff had to say.
Have you noticed that when it comes to education, that the media is sometimes not 100% accurate or acting in good faith? What? I know that's a bold statement.
What?
I know. I'm saying it. It happens. Look at what's going on in Florida right now. Ron DeSantis leads the state government, leads the legislature into a lot of reforms in education. The teachers' unions, angry. But also, so are a whole lot of social justice warrior activists. And the AP, among other media outlets just this past week, are saying that Ron DeSantis is outlawing the teaching of Black history, among other things,
God.
and outlawing curriculum for Black and other minority children.
Yeah. I'm sure that's what's happening.
Right. Jeff Charles wrote an article on that at redstate.com, and that's what I spotted. And he joins us right now to talk about why are these lying liars pretending Ron DeSantis is trying to erase Black history. Jeff, great to chat with you again. It's been a while since you've been on, so Happy New Year. First time we talked to you in the new year. So what is it that Ron DeSantis led the state government there to actually do as compared to what he's being accused of?
Yeah, Happy New Year to you guys, too. So basically, the College Board, which is the organization that creates a lot of curriculum, they also administer the SAT test, they had developed this African-American Studies course, and they kept a lot of it secret. They didn't let all the details out. But when they submitted it to Florida, they rejected it under the Stop Woke Act because it was essentially indoctrination. It had a lot of Marxist leanings. It was teaching queer theory. It was teaching a lot of stuff that doesn't necessarily have to do with African American studies. And the main problem is that it had a very distinct Marxist far leftist bent. So they rejected it, and they rejected it outright. They said, we need you to retool some of this stuff and then submit it again, and then we'll accept it. So what the media is trying to do, saying that Ron DeSantis is trying to ban Black history, is actually ridiculous, because the Stop Woke Act actually mandates the teaching of Black history. It's in the text of the legislation. But what they do is they count on the fact that people don't read that stuff, so they just believe, oh, Ron DeSantis is banning Black history. No, it's absolutely ridiculous. And I say this as somebody who has some problems with the Stop Woke Act, but banning Black history is not one of them.
Good morning, Jeff. Gabe Pfeiffer here. So one of my problems with this is that, yes, this is the kind of the go-to. They always say, well, he's trying to ban this good thing and he's trying to stop this good thing. It doesn't matter what their legislation is, either coming out of the DeSantis administration or any other Republican. But how effective is it still? Is it still something that we're not be able to get around, or and what's the remedy to get around these things?
Education, exposing the truth. It's the same thing that they did with the Parental Rights and Education Bill, which basically just said you can't instruct kids under 7 years old about gender identity and sexuality. But then they called it the Don't Say Gay Bill, and a lot of people bought into that. Now, as time went on, when they did more polling and people actually learned what was actually in it, you found that even Democratic voters were on board with the law. The same thing can happen here, although it's going to be a little bit harder. But I think that exposing the actual truth, telling people what's actually in the law and the actual reasons why it was rejected, that will go a long way towards it. But the activist media is very effective at spreading their lies. So even after the truth is revealed, a lot of people will still believe the lie.
Jeff, this is Stel here in the studio. Can I ask you to delineate a little bit on this Florida situation? Because I had understood that this was an advanced placement course different than the other courses that deal with Black history. Am I mistaken on that?
No, you're not. This is an advanced placement course. I believe it's for older high school kids.
Okay.
So, so it is an advanced placement course, and it's also African American studies, which isn't necessarily African American history. There is a difference. African American studies includes a lot of other factors. They delve into economics, culture, and stuff like that. With this particular curriculum, they were using material from people who are proponents of critical race theory, people who are Marxists. And honestly, I'll tell you right now, I actually don't have a problem with that. If we're talking about older high school kids, this is when they can start learning how to think critically. The issue is that you didn't see anything from Booker T. Washington, Frederick Douglass, Walter E. Williams, any other thinkers that had a different point of view, so that the students can think critically and think, okay, maybe this person's right or maybe this person is right. No, it's completely one-sided. So in this case, it's pretty obvious that they're not trying to teach these children how to think or how to think critically. They're trying to teach them what to think.
We're visiting with Jeff Charles from redstate.com, and you go to Red State. The article is called "Why Are These Lying Liars Pretending Ron DeSantis is Trying to Erase Black History?" Okay, I'm glad you just said that, because that's actually where I was going with my next question is, was it a matter of, not allowing the topic of, black studies, black history, black anything to be involved, or is it a matter of simply not allowing other perspectives? You could put in Thomas Sowell, obviously, in addition to all those other names that you just talked about as well. And so we're not talking about the law outlawing the discussion. Does the law require more balance, or is it just saying you can't touch this because you're biased?
Well, the law does say that you can't basically teach that a person is inferior or superior based on their color of skin, or that they have certain attributes based on skin color. Now, I'm not sure if this curriculum actually did that. I saw some of that behind the scenes, but I think the main issue was that it was putting stuff in there that wasn't as relevant, like for instance, Governor DeSantis brought up queer theory. Well, I mean, that's not really an integral part of Black history. It's a part of it, but again, it was being more used to indoctrinate because it didn't have any other opposing views. I mean, teaching about the Marxism is fine because there was a period in time where a lot of people jumped onto that, like W.E.B. Du Bois and some others. But they're making it appear as if the history of Black or African American studies is about Marxism and overthrowing capitalism and all these other Marxist ideas. There was no counter view, so it was pretty clear what these people are trying to do.
Yeah, Jeff, you mentioned that there were some things about the law that you're not in agreement with. Could you mention those? I'm curious.
I'm not crazy about it applying to private corporations, private entities, because I don't believe that the government should be interfering in that. Now, if there's a business that is discriminating on basis of race, and that can be argued, then maybe that there can be a case there. But other than that, I mean, a company can have Marxist views on race and talk about that with their employees. If you don't like it, you can go work somewhere else. You can blast them on social media. You can report them to the BBB, whatever it is you want to do. I'm not comfortable with using the government in that aspect. But when it comes to public institutions, then that does make more sense, because the government shouldn't necessarily be espousing one political point of view.
Jeff, my experience has been, obviously, if the teachers' unions and the administrators are throwing a fit over something, somebody's on the right track. Does this show any signs of being effective in sort of at least allowing a multitude of ideas back into education?
Hopefully. I mean, I'm not as optimistic as I would like to be, but I mean, the College Board did say that they're going to do some revisions. They're going to revamp some of it, and they're going to resubmit it and they're saying it's because they were going to do it anyway, but we all know it's because Florida rejected it. So that's a good sign. But realistically, if we want to change the way things are taught in school, we need to rethink our whole school system. We need to rethink who we're allowing on school boards, who we're electing. We also need to really be pushing school choice as a step in the right direction. And fortunately, I am seeing a lot of that across the country. It is National School Choice Week. Iowa just passed some very crucial school choice legislation. We're going to see that here in Texas as well, I believe, and in other states also. The idea is one of the solutions is allowing parents to choose how and where their children are educated, rather than leaving that up to the state.
Yeah, that provides a market incentive to get better and to be more reflective of what should be appealing to parents anyway, which is a good education, now that we know there's so much indoctrination happening.
Yes, and indeed. And I think that a lot of parents are going to exercise those options. We've already been seeing it, especially with rates of homeschooling. They've been soaring. And here in Texas, it's one of the easiest places to homeschool. And people over the COVID pandemic, one of the silver linings is that parents realize, oh, maybe this isn't as hard as I thought it was. So when parents are able to exercise other options, that will kind of strike a blow to the monopoly that the government has over education. And I think that ultimately that's going to be a net positive.
Jeff, when you look at kind of the vitriol and the framing, the misframing of what's happening in Florida on education, is this because the Republicans and Ron DeSantis are striking kind of at the heart of a sacred cow of the left, which is their dominance of public education? Is it a matter of they're worried about Ron DeSantis in 2024? Is it a combination? Is it something else?
The answer is yes. Because, I mean, just look at it pragmatically. This stuff does work very well for Ron DeSantis, who is widely believed to be throwing his hat in the ring for president at some point. So, yes, politically, this is great for him. But the other side of it is, I mean, they've been trying to they've been getting their claws into education for decades. We're just now catching up. We just realized what they were doing when COVID hit. So, I mean, if they want to turn out a new generation of left-wing activists or left-leaning people, you got to start with the schools. These people play the long game. They don't think short-term like a lot of us on the right tend to do sometimes. They know that this is going to take time, and if they can get the schools and keep them, then it'll be a lot easier for them to get the support and power that they need later on.
DeSantis seems to be hitting the Democrats right where they live so often, but he's using government power to do so. Is this the way for conservatives to go, or should we be a little more considerate about using power this way?
Our objective should be to roll back the state as much as possible, to limit the government as much as possible so that it can't be used by a weapon by either side. There are times where it's warranted, like with public schools, those are government schools. So in that case, it's okay for us to push them to change certain things that we don't like. I don't like the idea of using the government to basically make that government stronger because we think we're going to hit our enemies with it. What we're not realizing is that once they have control of that government, it's going to be used right back against us.
All right.
I think the best tool is to unload the gun rather than just making it more powerful.
We've got the news roundup coming your way in about 4 minutes right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Is the path to business prosperity to find your best clients,
Bongino.
in other words, people with big voices like News Talk STL, and then to kick them off the platform and attack them for barely stating an opinion?
Weekdays at 11.
Do you think that's an effective business model?
On News Talk STL.
Hey folks, Tim Jones here for Hanson's Tree Service, available 24/7 at hansonstree.com. Chad Hanson offering a 10% winter discount for everyone in News Talk STL Nation for all tree care services performed from now until March 31st, 2023. Just mention that when you're giving them a call. That includes all removals, trim and pruning, deadwood removal, stump grinding, everything for the exterior of your home, all your landscaping around that homestead or small business. Great chance to save money and time before winter storms really roll in. 636-379-1830, 24/7 at hansonstree.com.
Hey, it's Vic. Everyone here at News Talk STL is incredibly grateful for the growth in our business during the first 18 months since we signed on the air. We appreciate the great local businesses like Southern Armory, Rhino Shield, Steph's Pizza, and the Walner team that have become one of our many advertising partners. If your business is interested in becoming part of the News Talk STL family, simply send an email to info@newstalkstl.com. We have a wide variety of affordable advertising options. And thanks for listening to News Talk STL. Welcome home.
Hey, it's Tony Colombo inviting you to join me for a great show coming to Westport Playhouse for 2 consecutive nights, February 3rd and 4th. The Retro Nerds present a tribute to Sting and Peter Gabriel. Support local music and come see a great show at the beautiful, newly reopened Westport Playhouse. Enjoy the music of Sting and Peter Gabriel on both Friday and Saturday night, February 3rd and 4th, brought to you by Amicus Wealth Partners. Get more info and your tickets now at westportplayhouse.com.
For $1 a day, if any covered appliance breaks in your home, we guarantee to fix or replace it. All makes and models, washers, dryers, refrigerators, air conditioners, and more. Guaranteed to be fixed or replaced for $1 a day. Call the Home Service Club now for free information.
800-399-3701. 800-399-3701. 800-399-3701. That's 800-399-3701.
Nothing offers an opportunity to bond and give thanks quite like breaking bread together. This is especially true as we welcome our troops back home and keep those who are still stationed overseas in our hearts. Hi, I'm Gary Sinise. Since 2011, the Gary Sinise Foundation's Serving Heroes program has shown gratitude to our nation's defenders and their families by serving up nearly 500,000 hearty classic American meals at travel hubs and military locations. And now, together with our friends at Bob Evans Farms and their Our Farm Salutes program, we will help to provide even more meals nationwide, offering our defenders a taste of home and the feeling of togetherness around the table. Help us show America's gratitude through food and fellowship. Look for the Bob Evans Our Farm Salutes purple packaging at your grocery store and visit ourfarmsalutes.com to learn more. While we can never do enough to support the men and women who serve, together we can make a difference, bite by bite.
Welcome home to St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Democrats do what they do. We choose truth over facts.
News, analysis, and opinion.
Classified top secret documents.
Prior to an election, they kept it secret.
We will not comment.
Sitting in the garage behind a Corvette. This is why there's such hypocrisy.
Raise the debt ceiling. Congress must deal with the debt limit.
Consequences for the country are a major economic crash.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Subscribe and watch your favorite News Talk STL shows. Mike Ferguson in the Morning, The Vic Porcelli Show, Columbo and Katie, Jones and Arps. Webcam streaming on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble. Subscribe and watch News Talk STL. For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the Morning.
You know who's speaking out and saying Nick Schroer is right. The state should take over the St. Louis Police Department.
No, who?
The police officers.
Good.
Yeah, both unions. I'll tell you about that here in just a couple of minutes.
Interesting. Good.
It really is interesting on this. Also, Facebook says Donald Trump will be allowed back on the platform.
How about that?
Oh, things gonna be spicy. If he says yes, he wants to do it, which I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm curious what everybody thinks about that. I mean, yeah, interesting.
It'll be both Facebook and Instagram, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yep, yeah, it's Meta now because Meta says, okay, we're gonna let him back on. I haven't heard anything from Donald Trump as to whether or not he's going to do it, but I've got details just ahead here in a few minutes here. And Blues are back on the road, hoping to start another winning streak. Obviously, I got the details on that. Okay, let's. This is one of those, and I think at 6:05, it's going to be important to kind of not reset, but just have that conversation. Everybody, St. Louis, friends, family, News Talk family. We're going to continue the conversation with the violent crime on this, but it's not in that realm of if it bleeds, it leads. Just talk about all that. I got away from doing news and talk and opinion a long time ago, doing it that way a long time ago. But we do need to talk about why this is so crucial. St. Louis City Police have actually formed a task force in response to a rash of carjackings that's happening right now. Okay, so this week alone, there have been multiple carjackings. The carjackers have killed one woman this week and shot another woman who survived. She was hit in the shoulder. Crimes are getting just more brazen, and it looks like the criminals are becoming younger and younger to the point of dealing with mid and late teens, in addition to young 20s as well. So everybody in the city, whether you live here or whether you just work here or you're just visiting, is being warned to take extra precautions anytime you are in the city of St. Louis.
I just got a note a couple hours ago from a friend of mine who lives around Compton and Cherokee in South City, and there was an attempted carjacking right behind his house.
And didn't you show me a picture? Was that a bullet dent I saw in one of the vehicles, or was it just like a slamming something?
I'm honestly not sure.
Okay, yeah, because the carjackers, and they believe it's kind of a ring. It's a roving group. It's one specific group of people. The task force is on their tail, so to speak. They're now simply shooting at people. People are trying to get away. They're shooting at them, which takes this to an entire other level, because usually someone tried to get in your car, you pulled away, that was it, and they went, oh, darn, and they tried somebody else. Now you try to get away, they'll try to take your life. And this is the reality of the city of St. Louis right now. So we do have to keep you updated on that. More at 6:20, including announcements from police officers that they support not just a state takeover of the department, but also there's a proposal out there, and I haven't heard what the police officers say about this, to create a special prosecutor to deal with the criminals that Kimberly Gardner will not deal with. That's where we are now in St. Louis City. All right. Other things happening around the country that's affecting everybody. Republican lawmakers in Congress asking President Biden to take more action to address the ongoing crisis at the southern border. Remember, that's still a thing. Fox News' Ashley Strohmeyer has that story.
7 House Republicans blamed President Biden for not doing enough to crack down on drugs and the cartels at the border when he met with the Mexican president a few weeks ago. Instead of tackling drugs, the cartel, and human trafficking, they spoke on equity and inclusion. This comes as the DEA says they seized more than 50.5 million fentanyl-laced fake prescription pills and 10,000 pounds of fentanyl powder. Meanwhile, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is leading 20 states who are suing the Biden administration over its migrant parole program announced this month. Florida, Missouri, Utah, and Tennessee being among them.
All right. Other news, former President Donald Trump is being allowed back on Meta-owned Facebook and also Instagram after his 2-year ban, which is coming up here. I think it's a little over 2 years at this point. So speaking about that decision on Special Report with Brett Baer, Meta Global Affairs President Nick Clegg said Trump is welcome to post again if he wants to.
We believe the American people should hear from, including on our apps and services, from those who want to lead them. And he's a former president of this country, vying to be a candidate for the next presidential elections. And we don't really want to, all other things be equal, stand in the way.
Now, of course, Twitter has said Trump can come back since Elon Musk took over, and Trump said thanks, but no thanks. I don't know. I honestly have no guess what Donald Trump will do regarding Facebook and Instagram.
Or if he just decides to stay on Truth Social.
Right. Which personally, just from a marketing and campaign perspective, I think would be a mistake on his part. But who knows? Donald Trump does what Donald Trump wants. I mean,
pretty much.
There's just no predicting there. A couple other quick notes. We'll talk about this a little bit later on. A Wildwood Road is being renamed. This is interesting. Old Slave Road is becoming Madison Valley. That's after residents on the road who live there petitioned to change that name in August. I've got the backstory on that in a little bit. This is really interesting.
I can understand that.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, Blues, like I said, are back on the road. They were so streaky early part of the year. Win 5 or 6, lose 4 or 5, win another 5 or 6. Now it's more of a balanced win-loss thing. They're still in the middle of the pack of the Western Conference or Western Division. Really need to put together some wins. They play Arizona tonight. Game starts at 8 o'clock our time. ESPN Plus is the TV broadcaster for that one if you want to see them take on the Coyotes. All right, let's talk about why we should all be really concerned about what's happening in St. Louis City, and then I've got updates for you. This is it is way out of hand.
Hey, Columbo here for Zero Res, a company that we have relied on many times to save our home. And it doesn't matter if it's carpets, tile, rugs, upholstery. Basically, every surface in your home can be Zero Resified. And right now, to start 2023, if you book a cleaning in the month of January and mention the Columbo special, you'll get 23% off all services. Call and book now. Tell them you want the Columbo special, 314-474-2020, or book online at ZeroResSTL.com. Spell it forward or backward, it spells the same, Zero Res.
Columbo and Katie.
In a call with reporters, White House officials maintained the president's commitment to cooperating with the Justice Department and the special counsel's investigation, but refused to answer when asked whether Biden would sit for an interview as part of that probe. It's kind of like Meatloaf. I'd do anything for love, but I won't do that.
I'm sorry, I'm still on the video of Meatloaf. That was an awesome video.
Tony Columbo, Katie Fitzpatrick. Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
In times of economic uncertainty and chaos, your money means nothing. You may not even be able to get it from your bank or ATM. And the money you do have in the stock market will go down and down. What you can bank on is gold and silver. Gold and silver have been a reliable and trusted form of currency for thousands of years. Gold and silver have never been worth zero, and typically gold holds its value during economic turmoil. Call the Gold Hotline now and learn how to protect your money and your assets with gold and silver. And learn how to set up a new IRA or roll over your current one into a gold-backed IRA. Protect your money from the next market crash with gold and silver. Call now for your free gold guide.
800-281-4224. 800-281-4224. 800-281-4224. That's 800-281-4224.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Greg Clugston in Washington. Ukraine was hit with more Russian military strikes today, prompting air raid sirens to go off nationwide. The attacks come a day after the U.S. and Germany announced they would supply battle tanks to the Ukrainians. Former U.S. Army tank commander Gian Jatil says the Abrams tank America will provide offers long-range accuracy.
It can hit a moving target out to 2,000 or 2,000 meters on the move across rough terrain.
Deadly violence in the occupied West Bank today. Israeli forces killed at least 9 Palestinians during an arrest raid of a militant group. The police chief in the California city where 11 people were fatally shot is defending his decision not to warn the public for hours that a killer was on the loose.
Monterey Park Police Chief Scott Weiss tells the AP other law enforcement in the region were alerted, but it didn't make sense to warn the public late at night, even after receiving a report that the suspect may have targeted another club nearby.
I'm not going to send my officers door to door, waking people up and telling them that we're looking for a male Asian in Monterey Park. It's not going to do us any good.
They brought in the LA County Sheriff's Department, which confirmed the fatalities to the AP about 4 hours after the shooting. But it was roughly an hour later that first word came a suspect was at large. Several hours after that, he was found dead in his van. I'm Ben Thomas.
Meanwhile, the 66-year-old farm worker accused of killing 7 people in shootings in Northern California has been charged with 7 counts of murder. It was the state's third mass shooting in 8 days. The 25-year-old school teacher in Newport News, Virginia, who was shot and wounded by a 6-year-old student, plans to sue the school district. Her lawyer accuses administrators of failing to act after staff warned that the boy had a gun. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month.
SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance. For your free quote, go to SelectQuote.com. That's SelectQuote.com. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
There's a new poll on a Biden-Trump rematch.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Cloudy and cold but dry this morning. The temperatures in the upper 20s under those cloudy skies. A little breezy, so some wind chills in the teens. Overnight tonight, we dip down into the low to mid 20s. Breezy and warmer tomorrow. 46 for the high. 51 on Saturday with a chance of a sprinkle Saturday night and maybe some wintry mix by Sunday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD. Talk radio made in St. Louis.
Very excited for what you guys are doing for the St. Louis community.
For St. Louis.
Relevant local talk.
Saying what we are thinking.
This is News Talk STL.
You guys are awesome. I love you. And it's a tremendous honor to be on the station.
News, analysis, and opinion.
Thanks for covering the local angle.
Oh, people, this is America.
We better open our eyes.
Really local, really good.
News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and newstalkstl.com.
Not too many people know St. Louis the way Rodney and Jen do. So when it comes to your real estate needs, I know a lot of people are uncertain right now, and uncertainty can really put you behind the eight ball, and it can really harm your family's finances. Know what the right thing to do is when it comes to buying or selling a home by calling 314-810-SOLD today. Mike Ferguson here for the Wallner home selling team with Berkshire Hathaway. Do not be scared off from making a decision. Now, listen, maybe that decision is to stay right where you are for a little bit, and if that's the right thing to do for your family, talk to Rodney and Jen because they will tell you that. They will assess what your family's needs are, and they will let you know what, you should stay right where you are if that's the right thing to do. But maybe it is time to make that move. They have so many pre-approved buyers right now that they guarantee you're going to get an offer. And you know what? Inventory on homes right now in the St. Louis market is pretty low. Rodney was telling me this just a couple of weeks ago. So if you put your home on the market, yeah, it may be a little bit of a different situation for the buyers, but there aren't enough homes to go around in some parts of St. Louis, which means you are going to get a good dollar-for-dollar value. You may not even have to put out the signs and go through all that. But Rodney and Jen will guide you the right way because they are passionate about helping families just like yours. Call them. Don't look for somebody just out of a Google search or something. Call 314-810-SOLD. Tony Colombo is using their services. My wife and I are using their services because I wouldn't trust anybody else to give us the best service and the best advice and objective. They've already told me once, hey, Mike, wait on that for just a little bit. Instead of rushing to get a contract signed, they just said, no, let's do the right thing here. Let's wait. That's how they are going to treat you because that's who they are. 314-810-SOLD. Rodney and Jen Wallner home selling team. Do what I do. Tell them Mike Ferguson sent you. 314-810-SOLD.
Free speech is alive and well in America.
Sometimes it's hard to know what's real and what isn't.
Right here.
The country is heading in the wrong direction under this president.
We're suffering shortages. America's running out of everything.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion. Mike Ferguson.
We the people.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
It's not rocket science. Rocket science.
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Get up! Get up! Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
One of the first things that Stella and I were talking about this morning when he got in is sometimes you look at what is dominating in the news and what's everybody talking about. And I don't want to say the same things over and over and over again just because this is what everybody's talking about. But when it comes to the violent crime in St. Louis right now, to say that it's out of hand is an understatement. I mean, to use cliches like that doesn't do justice to what's happening. So here in just a few minutes here, I want to talk about why we do put the effort on this. And the fact is that, Gabe, we're not talking about crime in St. Louis City in particular right now. Not that there's not crime everywhere else, but crime in St. Louis City, because we're not talking about it just because it's flashy. We're not the if it bleeds, it leads type of news outlet here. I don't want this to happen. Even my political opponents who I think are wrong on everything, I would love for them to be successful in St. Louis City with a thriving economy and people moving in and a booming entertainment and business district. But those things aren't happening because of their policies. But when you look at the violent crime, it's just more visceral than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to watch people be, violated in the ways that they constantly are in the city. People don't feel safe in their own neighborhoods. There are businesses that don't feel safe conducting commerce where they are. There are people who can't go from point A to point B without being accosted either by a homeless person or the possible stick-ups that you see on the metro. All these things are they're affecting real people. And that's really the thing. I think sometimes we get kind of caught in the statistics and the numbers and things like that, and we conservatives are often accused of being, not the nice party, right? Not the nice group of people. But really, we hold the policies that we do because we care about people, and people are being hurt right now.
Yeah, and Stell, we're going to get into more depth on this in 620, but the St. Louis Police Department has put together a task force for the sole purpose of trying to stop a string of brazen carjackings that is moving both downtown and South City. Anywhere in St. Louis City right now, you stop for a moment anywhere, get gas, run into the store, anywhere, you are vulnerable to a carjacking right now in St. Louis City.
And it is a serious issue, and we're not trying to, as you said, do the bleeded leads thing. It's something that we need to deal with. And you mentioned about wanting the city to do well. Mm-hmm. I can remember about 5 years ago, some friends of ours who lived in our South City area moved downtown to the lofts on Washington. And this is when everything was really starting to, get a good buzz downtown. They've left since then.
Yeah.
And it's
I don't blame them.
Because of the crime issue.
Yeah. Now, one other aspect of this, and this isn't just for city police. There were quotes from Clayton Police. There were other police officers quoted in some of these articles, and it actually is consistent with the conversation I've had with a couple of different police officers over the last couple of weeks. They say stop making it even easier for these criminals. They are still, and this boggles my mind, they are still finding case after case after case where people are leaving their cars unlocked. I am still shocked that there are people who are leaving their keys or key fobs in the car, or they're leaving things that are visible in the car, including guns.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't get this.
Yeah, it's hard to fathom how you can. I mean, I was just talking about how people don't feel safe where they are. Well, apparently some people just aren't even registering how their feeling of being unsafe should translate into actions that they should take. Right. Extra levels of vigilance maybe that they should employ in their daily activities. But I mean, I don't know. I grew up in a suburb of New York City, so locking doors is just that's standard. It's standard operating procedure. You don't leave something that looks good visible in your car because somebody walking by might say, "Oh, look, hey." Well, back in my day, it was like, "Oh, look, a Walkman," and there
right.
There goes your passenger side window glass.
Right, and it's still not your fault if thieves break in and smash through to get stuff. But that's not going to make you feel any better when your car is smashed up and your stuff is gone. Yeah.
I mean, you can't call this blaming the victim. It's just being prudent.
Right.
It's like, just be prudent.
Make it more difficult.
Yeah.
And I was reading and watching another story, a TV story today from Channel 4 of police are saying, lock your dang cars. Don't leave stuff out that thieves can see. They go through parking lots. They go through apartment complexes. They go through parking garages. They go outside the Dome, outside the Enterprise Center, outside Stiefel Theater, outside the Cummings Soccer Stadium, outside the Family Arena, outside the grocery store, everywhere. And you'll see in the video, they just walk up and they stick their hand in their pocket of their sweatshirt. And they just go and car to car to car until something's open. And that's nothing new. Lock your car. I pull up to my house, and from my car to the back door where we go in is like from the house to my car is like 6 feet. I lock my car.
Yeah,
it's just you just do it.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think people would recognize that, these thieves are taking advantage of the opportunities. They're crimes of opportunity. Yeah. Well, stop giving them opportunities.
At least make it harder for them, because if there's any delay in time, they're likely to try to move on to somebody else. Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll talk about this a little bit later on, too. Meta, because we're supposed to say Meta, but it's Facebook. Facebook and Instagram, they say that in the coming week or two, they're going to unlock Donald Trump's account and let him back on.
What?
Yeah. Now, I don't know whether he's going to do it or not. I mean, Twitter, Elon Musk welcomed him back on, and Donald Trump said, thanks, but no thanks. So Facebook could let Donald Trump back on, which means social media could get really, really, really spicy all the way around.
I think they're looking for at this point. I honestly think this is a marketing campaign because they're starting to lose some money. Through the engagements down and things like that. People are complaining about how boring everything is basically online. So they're like, you know what? Why don't we throw this hornet into the into this small area and see what happens, because the activity makes money. So I doubt Donald Trump is going to bite on it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Now,
I mean, you could be right. He didn't on Twitter. I mean,
now, to be fair, the one mitigating factor with Twitter is that he has a competing social media network to his name, right?
Yeah.
In the case of Facebook and Instagram, I don't think he does. I don't think you can kind of make that comparison. I don't think True Social operates the same way. So conceivably, at least maybe even in his mind or mind of his team, that might be a new social media space or a non-competing social media space that he might jump in. I just don't think he'll do it.
Well, you mentioned the financial aspect. They're laying off 10,000 employees at Meta.
Oh, yeah.
So you're right. This is more of a financial issue. I think I agree with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and we mentioned a little bit earlier, trying to predict what Donald Trump's going to do, there's just no point in it. I have no idea. I think for a guy who's campaigning for president, that getting back on those platforms would be the prudent thing to do from a campaign perspective. But Donald Trump does what Donald Trump wants to do, for good or bad or otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, and to be fair with other candidates, maybe this social media presence, name recognition, all those things might be a little bit more important to them. Donald Trump doesn't really have the problem of lack of social media presence or name recognition, right? So, I mean. Maybe it's another avenue to get messages out, but the thing is, whenever a message comes out, everybody picks it up. Everybody moves it, so it moves almost by itself.
Donald Trump, before he was banned on Twitter, it didn't even occur to me that I was not following him, and I've never actually followed him because everything he posted got retweeted by, all kinds of people that
on
I
both
do
sides,
follow.
yeah,
on both sides, and so I knew everything he was posting, even though I didn't actually follow him. He doesn't need the name recognition. Like you said, whatever he posts out there gets out there. I will tell you, though, because I'm not on True Social, so when he puts something on there, it's usually much later, like Stell, I think you've told me, oh, yeah, he posted this yesterday. I didn't know that. So True Social doesn't have the reach that the others do.
True.
And from the people I know who are on social or True Social, it sounds like it's kind of a Trump echo chamber.
Yeah,
is really what it sounds like. It's for basically the MAGA community, which is fine. There's a market for it that's big enough, then you could do that. But if you're campaigning and you're trying to reach people outside of your core base, then maybe he does get back on. But who knows? I know if he does get back on, things blow up in a big way. And if he doesn't get back on, then nothing really changes other than people will be posting about him on Facebook, which they do anyway right now.
Could the situation be that they would let him back on? He doesn't post anything, but this gives him an opportunity to push back on the other folks who were on, including other presidential candidates.
Yeah.
On the Republican side, he can comment on their stuff.
That's right.
And maybe he won't do anything on his own page, but this is his chance to get his feedback out there regarding other candidates.
We just know that one way or the other, it could get really interesting.
Yeah.
Really entertaining as well. All right, 314-912-1019, just ahead here. The police officers in St. Louis City say, we want the state to take over. They would rather have Jefferson City than City Hall overseeing the police department. And there's a proposal to allow the governor to appoint a special prosecutor to deal with the criminals that Kimberly Gardner will not. I'll tell you about that just ahead right here on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Destination, making cold mind to fight your war. Stop it right now. I have had enough of this. Turn my eyes to you.
If you believe Brandon and the supply chain issues are still in crisis, or even if you don't, hurry into Southern Armory, your Second Amendment headquarters for the best selection of firearms, suppressors, holsters, ammunition, pepper spray, and knives. Browse through our constantly changing inventory, order something special, or have us repair or modify that firearm that you've been putting off. Try our firearms training simulator. See the demo video on our website. Come into Southern Armory, 9901 Watson Road, 1 mile east of 270 and 44, and southernarmory.com. That's southernarmory.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
I'm sick of all the firsts. It's after we had the first black president and maybe a couple more first. I'm tired of it. Now it's
the best person.
Yeah, now it's hey, this person is, I think Gabe said, this is the first left-handed transgender person with red hair thing. You know, we're scraping the barrel now for first, so that it doesn't mean anything anymore.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 3:30 on News Talk STL.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt?
I owe the IRS $37,000.
Civic Tax Relief can help protect you from the IRS.
Civic Tax Relief basically represented me against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, I didn't owe the IRS anything.
Civic Tax Relief's special tax hotline can help you discover all the relief programs available for free.
I would recommend anyone who has a tax problem to contact Civic Tax Relief.
Just call 800-841-0908. 800-841-0908.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, U.S. Tax Shield can help you take back control. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Our team of tax attorneys can stop collections and get you protected. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today. U.S. Tax Shield is A+ rated with the BBB, so call 800-466-9625. U.S. Tax Shield, 800-466-9625.
Now, the Onder Prescription with Dr. Bob Onder.
I'm Dr. Bob Onder. Are your school district and your local children's hospital conspiring to hide things from you? Well, since you live in the St. Louis area, this could be the case. Fox News has reported that the watchdog group, Parents Defending Education, learned some disturbing information. A school counselor at Parkway School District reached out to Dr. Sarah Garwood of the St. Louis Children's Hospital Transgender Center, asking whether the school should inform parents when their daughters engage in chest binding. Garwood said no. Chest binding is a grisly practice promoted by the Transgender Center in which girls wear compression garments on their breasts to make them appear more masculine. It can cause shortness of breath and injury to the lungs, chest, and spine. This is disturbing and abusive. WashU, Garwood, and apparently Summit Parkway are promoting mutilation of girls without their parents' consent. Parents should hold these people accountable, and transgender sadists should lose their medical licenses.
Okay.
I'm Dr. Bob, and that's my prescription.
Find more Dr. Bob Onder at bobondermo.com.
Otani, okay.
This is News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton, and we're proud to be the official winter weather source for News Talk STL. The First Alert Weather Team is working hard to keep you ahead of the big weather changes and help you plan your day. So stay connected this winter with Channel 4 and News Talk STL.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Oh, wow.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the Morning.
All right, after 2 years, should Donald Trump get back on Facebook? We've got the update, and I want to know what you think about that at 6:35. Let's just pick that conversation up there, guys. It is coming up on 6:22. I'm Mike Ferguson. Got Gabe Pfeiffer here, still Ponticus here as well. Interestingly, the head of the St. Louis Police Officers Association, and yesterday afternoon, I got a message from the Ethical Society of Police. So basically the Police Officers Union and the Black Police Officers Union. So all of the police officers in St. Louis City have signed on to Nick Schroer's proposal that the state retake control of the St. Louis City Police Department. That's big.
That's a huge indictment of the current way things are being run.
Right, and obviously, City Hall is pushing back against this. The new police chief says he has not had a chance to meet with Kimberly Gardner yet, which is why he's kind of being mum on some of the stuff. He says, I at least, should have a conversation with her before I start commenting on stuff.
Okay.
All
right, I'll give him that.
I can live with that.
Yeah.
I can live with that. But at the same time, there's a bill proposed in the Missouri legislature that that would allow the governor to appoint a special prosecutor for up to 5 years, and then I guess it could be renewed, in order to basically impose and assign a criminal prosecutor to deal with St. Louis City because of all of the thousands of backlog criminal cases and other cases that Kimberly Gardner's office simply will not prosecute or get around to prosecuting. And so the proposal is right now limited to basically violent and high-level property crimes. So they're not saying they're going to come in and prosecute every misdemeanor. But the negotiations are going on with that. But it's to the point now where the state has to come in and save St. Louis from itself.
Yeah, this is sad.
Right. So while the mayor and the leftist in City Hall, complain about being a blue dot in a red state, and they whine about the Republicans in Jefferson City taking away their local control, they did this to themselves.
Yes.
The voters of St. Louis City have done this to themselves. And so for all of the chest pounding that we hear a lot of times out of St. Louis City files, if you will, we're the economic engine. We contribute more to the state than the state gives to us, which is patent nonsense to say that.
No way.
It's absolute nonsense. Just to be condescending, towards the outstate people and representatives. The state's going to have to come in and save you from yourself, St. Louis City.
And the state used to run the city police department
That's
back
correct.
in the day.
Yeah, that's
So
correct.
I almost feel like saying, well, this experiment hasn't worked very well, has it?
And it's been a 10-year experiment.
Wow.
It was 10 years ago that the St. Louis police went back under the control of City Hall, and you see what's happened.
Wow. I didn't realize it's only been 10 years.
Yeah.
Because the amount of degradation that has happened, that you figure that it's been ongoing for decades, but no, it's just city management is so bad that they've tanked our law enforcement capability that much in 10 years.
Well, and it's not just. I mean, and that's the thing where I don't want to say the same things over and over and over and over and over again. We know Kimberly Gardner's lack of accountability and her pro-criminal attitude as a prosecuting attorney is a big part of the problem. Okay, we don't need to rehash that. We know that's the case. We know that police officers are leaving in droves. They're being tempted away by other cities that are much smaller but pay much more, and they know that when they make an arrest for somebody caught red-handed doing something violent, like, I don't know, I'm just going to pull something out of the air here, shooting at them, that person's going to jail and they're going to be prosecuted.
And defunding the police has essentially crippled them.
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt, that's the case on this. But now you've got the state Senate, the state legislature, with the support of the St. Louis police officers, saying it is time to wrest control of that department away from City Hall. Now, politically, that's an embarrassment for City Hall. What they're going to do, Gabe, is sit there and go, oh, yeah, I thought Republicans were all about local control. Apparently not when it suits them. Hey, you've had local control. People are getting hurt. People are dying. There's a task force now specifically looking for one carjacking ring. And I told Stell, before we went on the air here, Gabe, I said, this week I have thought about my daughter more than usual.
Yeah.
My daughter, I've mentioned on the air before, she is 24 years old. She works a late shift because she works in the restaurant and bar industry, manages part of a upscale lounge. And she is the kind of person who works the kind of shift that could be a prime target.
Yeah.
For this sort of thing. So there's a task force now to try to deal with this, and what's happening is it's escalating. It's not just you pull up to get some gas and they push you out of the way and jump in your car. It's repeated cases this week alone. Somebody tries to be evasive. They see the carjackers coming. They back up. They pull away. The carjackers start shooting at them. They've already killed one person this week.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
That's where we're at.
Yeah. I feel for you too, because my daughter now, she's not in St. Louis area, she's in the Denver area, but her car was just broken into recently. She lives in the city of Denver, and it's basically every blue city is experiencing the same thing right now. I think because for some reason there's this big push in the intersectional left right now to be defenders of the quote unquote downtrodden people who are committing all these crimes. So that's all they're doing right now, and it's obviously unsustainable. It's obviously unsafe. People are getting hurt, and I think it's right for the state to check the local government, because if it's not serving the people, it shouldn't matter. I mean, look, I agree that people should be able to choose their own fate through their own government, but the state has an interest in those people too. And if the city is not serving its own people, even if those people chose it, it's the state's responsibility to step in.
Well, and law enforcement is one of those critical functions that's got to get done. It just has to.
Yeah.
It's not even just that there's a state interest. There is. But the bottom line is now 10 years. 10 years. And we can see the trends. We can see the lines. And we see an unapologetic St. Louis City Hall, unapologetic St. Louis Circuit Attorney's Office that say, no, we're going to double down and triple down on what we're doing, and it's all your all's fault because we're not allowed to pass gun control laws.
Yeah, and they're not going to budge from that position. They're gonna stake their lives, or they're staking your life on trying to move their anti-gun agenda forward and their pro-criminal agenda forward. So just a quick question though, how is it going to work with that special prosecutor? Are they going to have jurisdiction over Kim Gardner's office, essentially to basically go over her head or around her to those people, or will they be assigning state prosecutors instead?
That's still being debated and worked out. And it may actually end up being something that other counties or cities could rely on if they need help. But the way that the discussion is right now is that this prosecutor's office, which, by the way, will be at state expense, would be able to simply file charges and take it to the circuit court and just do what Kimberly Gardner's office won't. My understanding, and this could change, is that they're not moving into Kimberly Gardner's office and saying which desk is mine. They're setting up an office probably in a state building or in a courthouse, and they're simply doing the job that she refuses to do so that they can start going after these. I mean, Eric Schmidt, when he was Attorney General, he suggested something like this, but this would be a state law so that the prosecuting attorneys and the courts would not be able to say, no, you don't have jurisdiction here. They would say, here's the state law, here's the jurisdiction. We're demanding, and we're creating the jurisdiction so that they can come in and the state can start trying to protect people when Kimberly Gardner refuses to.
Yeah, well, needs to happen.
I think so. I hate to say that. But I think that it absolutely does need to happen, so we'll see how that moves through the legislature. 314-912-1019. Got thoughts on that? I want them. Also, should Donald Trump go back on Facebook? Let's talk about that next here. He's being offered to resume his accounts that were shut down 2 years ago. Should he get back on Facebook? Oh, it'll be interesting if he does. We'll talk about that just ahead right here on 1019-94.1 News Talk STL.
This is what's happening.
That Joe Biden had these documents.
Must deal with the debt limit.
News, analysis, opinion.
Classified information.
We will not comment.
1019 and 94.1.
What's happening right now?
This is News Talk STL.
From the News Talk STL newsroom, I'm Joey Vasovich. The city of Cool Valley officially voted to impeach Mayor Jason Stewart by a 4-3 majority by the Cool Valley aldermen last night. Witnesses testified Stewart used a city police car and gas card for personal use and failed to hand over financial documents to locate $230,000 in COVID relief money. A 32-year-old Chillicothe man was charged Wednesday with setting fire to the Planned Parenthood clinic in Peoria earlier this month. Security footage showed someone using a Molotov cocktail-type device to set the fire. If convicted, the man faces up to 40 years in prison with a minimum sentence of 5 years. A fire damaged part of the BP gas station in Bridgeton on St. Charles Rock Road Wednesday afternoon. Investigators say the fire possibly started due to an overloaded electrical system. Someone inside the building smelled smoke, noticed the flames, and quickly prompted others to evacuate. Alcohol distributor Breakthrough Beverage in Ellendale says bars and restaurants will start receiving Yingling on draft by February 6th, and they will have packaged products by March 6th. Yingling, which was founded in Pottsville, Pennsylvania, mostly sells its products in the northeast and southeast region of the United States. World-renowned glass artist Dale Chihuly will bring his colorful works to the Botanical Garden this spring, officials announced yesterday. Chihuly and his crew created 18 installations that will add more dramatic color throughout the garden's 79 acres. Member tickets go on sale March 1st. For in-depth coverage of these stories and more, go to newstalkstl.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Cloudy and cold but dry this morning. The temperatures in the upper 20s under those cloudy skies. A little breezy, so some wind chills in the teens. Overnight tonight, we dip down into the low to mid 20s. Breezy and warmer tomorrow. 46 for the high. 51 on Saturday with a chance of a sprinkle Saturday night and maybe some wintry mix by Sunday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Stories of New Americans.
Hi, this is Ron Clutho. Join me this weekend for Stories of New Americans, where you'll hear fascinating and inspirational personal stories of people from all over the globe who now call St. Louis home. We'll take a look at the U.S. through newcomers' eyes and get insight into world history and culture and maybe just learn a little bit more about ourselves.
Stories of New Americans with Ron Clutho. Saturday nights at 10 on News Talk STL.
Hey, Columbo here, and many of you know that one of my favorite things to do when I have some free time is to get out on the water and go fishing. And the folks at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton are the people you should see before your next fishing trip. No matter what you're fishing for, they have everything you need, from gear to lures to live bait. Plus, they can even set you up on a guided fishing tour on the Mississippi River. Make sure the tackle box is ready for your next trip by visiting Bluff City Outdoors at 2813 East Broadway in Alton and bluffcityoutdoors.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. Doug and Safe Money Radio is on 3 times every weekend, but in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com or call 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Columbo and Katie.
We are finding classified documents everywhere we look these days. On Thursday, we'll get the latest live from the White House when we talk to Christian Daytalk with the Washington Examiner at 2:25.
Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
You know that it would be untrue. You know that I would be
One of the fun things that you can get in your email is the News Talk STL newsletter.
Yeah.
I am telling you, it takes about 3 minutes, and it's 3 minutes that you're really going to get a kick out of.
It's a solid read.
It's really, I mean, I've been around a lot of these over the years in media. I mean, been in this business for like 28 years or something like that. This one's really well done. Katie does a great job with it. So go to newstalkstl.com and just to subscribe to the newsletter, or you're going to get one of the original political cartoons. You'll get a video. You'll get a couple of news stories. Probably a link to a featured podcast if you wanted to check that out. But it is, and also, of course, some of the earliest notices of station events. And without being a spoiler, there is one coming up not too long from now. And if you're on the newsletter, you're going to get among the first notices of that. And ways to get tickets to things and have a lot of fun. I mean, when we had our birthday party last July, that was the people who are on the newsletter were the first ones to know about it and the first ones to sign up.
Yeah.
And so that's the place to be. So newstalkstl.com. 6:36 right now. I'm Mike. That's Gabe. That's Stell. Let's see here real quickly here at 6:50. Guys, I just want to let you know we're going to prepare to have a somber moment. Because there are some Google employees in California who their lives are being affected by something. So we're going to mourn with them.
Okay.
Oh my. Right around 6:50.
Okay. We have to share the burden.
Yeah, that's it. That's what we're going to share the burden because they're going to be in a similar situation that most of us are.
Oh
after
man.
This.
Well, I feel the pain.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Donald Trump is could be back on Facebook. Now, whether or not he is going to be back on Facebook, I don't know. Here's the question I've got, 314-912-1019, and I just posted this on Rumble as well. I'm curious if anybody on Facebook has anything to say about this. Should Donald Trump go back on Facebook? So on Special Report with Brett Baer, Nick Clegg, who is Meta, which is the Facebook parent company now, Meta Global Affairs President Nick Clegg says Trump is welcome to post back on the platform if he wants to.
There are guardrails, there are rules. He's got to play by the rules, and we're announcing some additional ones today to encourage him to stick to the rules that exist when people use Facebook and Instagram.
Okay, well,
really?
I don't know if that's going to be enough to entice Trump back. Bottom line is, I don't know who needs who more in this situation.
Yeah.
My guess is that to Donald Trump, that Facebook needs him more than he needs them. I don't know if that's the case or not.
Certainly
Maybe it is.
arguable.
Yeah, it could be, but that's probably the debate that's happening in Trump 2024's meetings and offices when they're making the recommendations to him. All right, guys, what do you think? Should Donald Trump go back on Facebook?
I say yes.
All right, so
I say yes.
What do you think? What do you think you think he'll benefit from it?
I think so, personally, and I understand the guardrails, and whether he abides by operating within those guardrails, I guess we'll see. But I believe yes, even though I've seen the total pushback from the left over the last couple of days. No, you can't have him back on there. Mm-hmm. He's the one who led everything on January 6th. Well, no, not quite, but, you've skewed everything on the narrative for that, so you've got so much of the country thinking that that's the case when in my perspective, it was not the case. But I guess we'll see what happens.
On the Rumble chat box, Curl65 says no. Not necessary for Donald Trump to do that.
Okay,
Interesting.
I can see both sides of that argument. I could see Trump doing it just to thumb his nose at people. I mean, on some level, I kind of want him to.
and I could also see him doing something right away to get thrown back off.
Oh, just to prove a point,
just to make a point.
So just quick read through the new rules, pick the dumbest one, and say, you know what, I'm gonna screw with this one.
Yeah, and say, okay, I'm gonna break this one
in one tweet.
or a Facebook post. Yeah,
or one post.
So you've got your eye on our Facebook comments, right?
Yeah.
All right, 314-912-1019. Want to know what you think. Should Donald Trump go back on Facebook? And I guess the bigger question would be, because I actually think it would probably benefit his campaign. Now, anything he posts is going to have thousands of absolutely toxic and dysfunctional arguing going on in the comments.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Nothing that is going to be roses and daisies and unicorns and rainbows is going to come out of this. But you do have, arguably at this point, the leading contender for the Republican nomination for president. We'll see who else gets in. That could change. But from a campaign perspective, I think it would be smart to get on there. But Donald Trump does what Donald Trump does. And all of us have been wrong about the strategy and saying we know what he should do. And he ignores what we think. And then he ends up, succeeding anyway.
Right. Rebecca's on line one to give us her opinion.
All right,
about it.
Rebecca, should Donald Trump go back on Facebook?
Hi. Yes, I think that he should. He should follow the rules. He should have done that all along. I think it's a good fundraiser because I remember every day leading up to the election, there were things on Facebook soliciting money, and that's one of the ways that he won the first time was by getting grassroots $10 here, $20 there.
That's a really good point. I mean, that's one of the reasons why politicians get social media presences in various avenues. Is like if you're a Facebook junkie and that's what you do is Facebook and you don't really engage in the other areas, that would be the way to reach that particular voter. So, and there are lots of voters who fall into those categories. So, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's a chance for him to show people that he's calmed down, that he can be careful how he says things. I totally believe in Trump. Didn't always think he was the greatest one that was running, but I totally believe in him. He did a fantastic job as a president, didn't charge us a penny for it. And also, I just think that all he's got to do is show people that he is being more common sense and not letting everything fly out of his mouth.
Yeah, a little more disciplined.
Yeah.
With his message. Yeah. Hey, Rebecca, thanks so much for being a part of the program. Have a good one. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that Facebook is not going to be as open as Twitter. You know, Facebook still absolutely has that viewpoint discrimination in there. We know that all too well. We tried to give them money to say there's a new conservative radio station in town about a year and a half ago.
That was all we were trying to say.
That's all we were trying to say.
We exist.
Yeah, we're here. We were not allowed to do it.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let us do it because we had the word conservative.
Yeah, and the reason they gave us, and I remember seeing this and just being completely shocked at it, is because of the potential for election interference. Right. That's why they took down our ad saying that we are a conservative radio station that exists in St. Louis.
Yeah, we didn't say we're Republican or we're Trump or we're
who to vote for or anything.
Vote for, but because a conservative radio station talks about policy and politics, just saying we're here was not allowed.
Election interference.
Right.
You can't interfere in an election by talking up to people about things you would like to see policy-wise in the government. That's verboten, according to Facebook. See, and that's one of the problems I would have with the quote-unquote rules, right? You know, because the thing is, if that's the rule and they're adjudicated arbitrarily by an unknown group on the back end of Facebook, then why would I want to play in that pond?
Right. Yeah, and if you can't call the shots.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, we've had suspensions here, you know, with Facebook, we've had YouTube, we've had all of that. We're not going to stop doing what we're doing.
Right.
I'm having too much fun. I've actually had people say, Mike, there's so many more people on Facebook. Well, News Talk STL does have a very active Facebook page. If you're not following us or liking us, please do that.
We are there.
But just understand that every once in a while we're going to get in trouble with them. That's just going to happen. And they say, why are you talking about Rumble? Not everybody's on Rumble. People are watching on Facebook. Well, we're on Facebook streaming live right now. But I know we're not going to get thrown off Rumble.
Yeah, get on Rumble.
Yeah,
get on Rumble.
Do that.
Those guys like us.
314-912-1019.
You know, referring to Trump, I'm not sure if his edges have softened.
I don't know.
Yeah. But I guess we'll find out.
Yeah,
he has
You're
been.
not wrong.
Yeah, he has been quieter.
Yes.
lately, but that doesn't mean that he's changed.
Right.
You know, so I don't know. I have no idea. Like I said, trying to predict what Donald Trump is going to do is a fool's errand.
Well, I will say, just, you know, as quiet as he's been the last couple times where he's poked his head up to say something, it's been a little spicy. You know, it's been a little edgy, and a lot of people have been shocked on some level. It's like Donald Trump is still capable of shocking us.
Well, he's got a rally coming up. It's not tonight.
I was just going to mention that. It's this weekend,
It's
isn't
this
it?
weekend. Yeah, I think it's
in
South
Columbia,
Carolina?
South Carolina.
Yeah, South Carolina. So he's going to do his first rally of the presidential campaign.
Oh boy,
for 2024. So we're really going to have an idea of what his approach is going to be after this weekend.
Maybe they'll share the video on Facebook.
That's right.
And then get immediately suspended for saying something.
That would really be funny. All right, 314-912-1019. That's the question on the table right now. Should Donald Trump accept the offer and go back on Facebook? All right, just ahead, a moment of silence so that we can mourn along with some Google employees in California. And then real quick, change coming to a road name in St. Louis County. I think this is an interesting story, why the street name's being changed. I'll tell you about that in about 4 minutes here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
We need change in our country right now.
Live and local.
They clubbed us over the head for 2 years.
Yep. You want corruption? This is how we get corruption.
This is News Talk STL.
Hi there. Hey, it's Tony Colombo inviting you to join me for a great show coming to Westport Playhouse for 2 consecutive nights, February 3rd and 4th. The Retro Nerds present a tribute to Sting and Peter Gabriel. Support local music and come see a great show at the beautiful, newly reopened Westport Playhouse. Enjoy the music of Sting and Peter Gabriel on both Friday and Saturday night, February 3rd and 4th, brought to you by Amicus Wealth Partners. Get more info and your tickets now at westportplayhouse.com.
Hey, it's Mike Ferguson here. Everybody here at News Talk STL is incredibly grateful for the growth of our business during our first 18 months since we signed on the air. We appreciate the great local businesses like Clear Path Wealth Management, STL Fence Works, and Michael's Flooring that have all become advertising partners. If your business is interested in becoming part of the News Talk STL family, simply send an email to info@newstalkstl.com. Thanks for listening to News Talk STL. Welcome home.
I'll second guest dinners with friends because they can be interrupted by diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or oily stools. It turns out I have EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, which means I'm missing the enzymes needed to digest food. My doctor prescribed Creon, pancrelipase, an oral prescription medication that replaces pancreatic digestive enzymes. Creon treats EPI due to cystic fibrosis, chronic pancreatitis, pancreatectomy, or other conditions.
Creon may increase your chance of fibrosing colonopathy, a rare bowel disorder. Tell your doctor if you have a history of intestinal blockage or scarring or thickening of your bowel wall, if you're allergic to pork, or if you have gout, kidney problems, or worsening of painful swollen joints. Call your doctor if you have any unusual or severe gastrointestinal symptoms or allergic reactions. Take Creon as directed by your doctor and always with food. Do not chew capsules, as this may cause mouth irritation. Other side effects may include blood sugar changes, gas, dizziness, sore throat, and cough. These are not all the side effects of Creon.
Creon is the #1 prescribed EPI treatment. Ask your doctor about Creon for EPI and visit creoninfo.com or call 800-633-9110 to learn more. That's CREONinfo.com.
The latest news.
The clock ticking on government funding.
Consequences for the country are a major economic crash.
The news you need to know.
Republicans and Democrats are blaming each other.
Classified information.
We will not comment.
Why was it okay to raid Mar-a-Lago?
Alec Baldwin.
So you never pulled the trigger?
I would never point a gun at anyone and pull a trigger.
And the place to talk about it.
Limousine liberals are all hypocrites.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, Bill O'Reilly here, and you can hear my no-spin commentary right here at 6:45 this evening. Now it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
All right, if you're streaming us, first of all, thank you. Or you get to work, or you're just hanging out at the house or heading back to the house, check us out on Rumble. Gabe's waving. That was the cheesiest smile. What was that?
That was intentional. Whenever you look at the camera and you wave, you have to do a cheesy smile and wave thing. You do. Right. Hi, guys. Hey.
Also, I'm keeping an eye on the Rumble chat box. Gabe is keeping an eye on the Facebook. Maybe YouTube, because we're on YouTube. If you look up Mike Ferguson in the morning, if YouTube is your preferred, you don't look up News Talk STL, look up Mike Ferguson in the morning, because each of the shows have a page there because they threw the station off already.
Yeah.
Moment of silence time, gentlemen. Because we are empathetic here.
Yes, yes.
We are nice guys.
Yeah, we care about people.
Here's what's happening is Google is laying off looks like about 1,800 employees in California alone. I mean, that's sad. People are losing their jobs. These are probably very high-paying jobs.
Yeah.
But among those who are being laid off in California, and this affects everybody in that office, this is where our empathy must come to the forefront here, guys.
Yes.
27 on-site massage therapists. Therefore, Google employees.
Oh no!
Yeah.
This is traumatic.
Being laid off.
Man.
Okay, so
no.
So for the not just the people losing their jobs, but for those employees who no longer have direct access to on-site massage therapists in California when working at Google, moment of silence, please.
Can we hire a couple of them here?
Yes.
Okay.
Amen.
That's good.
Amen.
That's
I prayed for them.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Such a hardship not having on-site massage.
The boss is heading in. at some point here, so I'm sure it's in the budget. We can hire a few
Yeah.
California
Yeah.
massage therapists. No problem.
Okay, I got to ask the question, though.
Yeah.
What's with these basically adult daycare style workplaces out in California? I mean, honestly, that's what they are. You go in, it's like, you ever see these little TikToks of these? I mean, it's usually some 20-something lady who has a certain way of speaking. It's all the same. She's like, I go in and I get my coffee at the
My espresso.
and espresso it's free, It's like, and then I go and I hang out for a little bit and have breakfast. Today I had an egg white.
Right.
You know what it is, like,
with granola.
Yeah, exactly.
on the
It's
side.
like what is happening right now? You're
Well,
going
making
to
me
work.
hungry. That's what's happening.
You're going to work, and all of a sudden, and it's very much this. I eventually get to a meeting sometime around midday, just before we break for lunch at the free barbecue that we have. And what is happening?
Now, remember when Elon Musk was taking over Twitter? That was one of the things that the workers at the Twitter headquarters were really worried about. They were worried about their espresso bar and all that. But that's not just a California thing. I remember being given a tour of one of those co-working spaces, like
a co-op thing?
Co-op incubator places in downtown St. Louis, where they had a nap room.
Yeah, oh yeah, the nap rooms.
No,
gosh.
it's right there. And here's the weirder thing about the nap room is that all the walls of it were glass, so you walk by and you can watch people napping.
What? Wait, it's glass?
Yeah, it's a glass room, or it was. I don't know if it still is. And I'm walking by and they're like, yeah, this is, somebody needs a break. This is kind of a nap room. And it was like bean bags in there and everything.
You know what? I correlated nap rooms with kindergartners.
There's adult daycare. I'm telling you.
There it is.
It's what it is. You got snack time, you got nap time, and just
recess.
Yes, recess basically. And of course adult recess is basically the massage therapist.
Yeah.
I don't want to go out and get sweaty and stuff.
Right. And first thing I thought was, well, yeah, that does look comfortable in there, but I'm not going to be able to take a nap if I'm on, if I'm in a people zoo and I'm just there on display for people to walk by and stare. And why would you? I don't know. I mean, listen, we work early shifts here, so
Yes.
I occasionally will try to get a nap in during the afternoons. Doesn't happen very often, but going to work as a feature of my office.
Yeah. And the thing is, and these are standard. It's standard workday, right?
Yeah.
It's a standard 9 to 5. You go into the office, you do your thing, you go home, right? When you think of standard office, do you think that you need a nap in between? I don't.
No, not at work.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like I don't know. I mean, sometimes I feel like I need a nap after lunch, but that's usually just my from food coma from eating too much.
Yeah, listen, I mean, there are times where I've been a little uppity and I'm like, can we please get some better coffee at places I've worked before? I'm like, this sucks. Can we go get some Caldi's or something like that?
That's as far as it usually
That's as
goes.
far as I'm going to go.
Yeah.
So our empathies to the Google employees who no longer have, access to the massage therapist.
What was even more irritating was these folks were making $80 to $100,000 a year, and all these extra services are free on top of it.
Oh yeah, it's all the perks. But we do have to. I do have to. Concede. We do get those free peanut butter filled pretzels.
That's true.
in
I
this office.
just had a handful of them.
Yeah,
That's
so
true.
that is a perk of this office.
It is. And I mean, I don't mean to butt into Tony Colombo stuff, but Tony, you're almost out of cashews again. Hey, real quick here. This is interesting. In Wildwood, a road is being renamed. So, just off Wild Horse Road, for years, Old Slave Road, has been there in Wildwood. And the residents who live along there petitioned to get the name changed. And they started that process back in August. The city said yes. So now it's being changed to Madison Valley. I don't know if it's Madison Valley Road or Drive, but just Madison Valley. And so this is part of a development that happened back in the late 70s. The land there is on the site of what used to be 2 Civil War plantations. Of course, Missouri being a disputed state back in the day. And so the city of Wildwood, passed or approved the change to Madison Valley, and they're going to put up a plaque along the road honoring Elijah Madison, who was the former slave who lived there that I guess that was his home, and that's how the road got named Old Slave Road, and that's how everybody referred to it. Then it became Old Slave Road after Elijah Madison. So he's going to have a plaque, but they're changing the name of the road.
Okay.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, that works for me, especially because, I like this because it was brought up by the people who live there.
Right.
As opposed to some outside group trying to make a point and trying to make money or whatever.
Yeah, so it's not one of those like woke snowflakery things that somebody looked around and goes, do I really want to get my mailing address out as Old Slave Road?
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
The guy had a name.
The guy had a name. It's not named after him, but he's being honored there somewhere on the road. All right, just ahead here, violent crime in St. Louis. What do we do about it, and why is it so important? You don't live here. This is still important to you. We'll talk about it.
The Rob Carter Show.
AOC is supposed to be one of those progressives that is against war and for the environment. Yet she continues to sign bills that sends billions and billions of dollars over to Ukraine that nobody can follow where that money's going. All we know is that our interest rates are going up. Inflation is through the roof. They brought down the gas prices for the election, which they do every election season if you haven't been paying attention.
The Rob Carter Show. Sundays at 5 on News Talk STL. Brought to you by Elite Printing and Packaging.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Packages start at $29.99 a month with sign agreement. Restrictions apply. Speak to a representative for complete offer details. See Vivint.com for license details. Terms and conditions apply.
Homeowners, if you're looking for the best in home security and smart home technology at a price you can actually afford, we have great news. Now you can get Vivint's award-winning home security systems starting at about $1 a day. U.S. News and World Report has recognized Vivint as the best professionally installed home security system of 2022. And right now, you can get Vivint's home security technology for about $1 a day. Plus, get free professional installation from a licensed technician. Protect your home and loved ones for as low as $1 a day. Call right now for your free home security consultation.
800-561-3405. 800-561-3405. 800-561-3405. That's 800-561-3405.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Greg Clugston in Washington. Russia is critical of the decision by the U.S. and Germany to provide Ukraine with battle tanks. Moscow calls it a dangerous escalation in the conflict. At the White House, National Security Council spokesman John Kirby says it will take some time for the U.S. to deliver 31 Abrams tanks to the Ukrainian military.
There's no date certain on the calendar. I think what we're looking at is what's probably going to be many months before they're actually there.
Ukraine was hit with more Russian military strikes today, prompting air raid sirens to go off nationwide. Former President Trump's suspension from Facebook and Instagram is coming to an end. Facebook parent Meta says it will restore his personal account in the coming weeks, ending a 2-year suspension it imposed in the wake of the January 6th riot. Also at srnnews.com, Southwest Airlines is reporting a fourth-quarter loss of $220 million. Correspondent Keith Peters reports the federal government is investigating whether Southwest knowingly scheduled more flights than it could handle in December.
That's when it ended up canceling nearly 17,000 flights. The Transportation Department says scheduling too many flights would violate federal laws against deceptive practices. The department says it's in the early stages of its investigation, and it will also make sure that Southwest provides prompt refunds and reimbursements to customers who were stranded by the cancellations. Southwest's breakdown started with a winter storm and was compounded when its crew scheduling system became overloaded. The airline has hired a consultant to study what went wrong. Keith Peters reporting.
Authorities say the 72-year-old gunman who killed 11 people in a Southern California ballroom dance hall had no known connection with the victims. Investigators still trying to determine a motive. More on these stories at townhall.com.
And it's Prager here. Sue and I mean it. Dogs are part of our family. We love Otto and Snoopy so much. There's nothing quite like their loyal companionship. So we provide them with Rough Greens. In fact, I just talked to my wife about it because we want them to be healthy and we want them to be with us as long as possible. That's true. I know Sebastian Gorka feels the same way.
The Pragers and I couldn't agree more. Our pups, Killian and Leia, rely on us to provide what's best for them. And naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black has packed Rough Greens full of vitamins, minerals, digestive enzymes, omega oils, and more that supplement their food in a way that has shown us great results. Trying out Rough Greens is an easy yes, recommended by me, Dr. G.
Naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black here, and I'm so proud that the Pragers and Sebastian Gorka have entrusted their dog's health to Rough Greens. I'm so confident that Rough Greens can help your dog, I'm offering you a free Jumpstart trial bag. Just cover the shipping. Yes, your dog's food is dead food, but you can bring it back to life with Rough Greens. Go to ruffgreens.com.
Is from the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Cloudy and cold but dry this morning. The temperatures in the upper 20s under those cloudy skies. A little breezy, so some wind chills in the teens. Overnight tonight, we dip down into the low to mid 20s. Breezy and warmer tomorrow. 46 for the high. 51 on Saturday with a chance of a sprinkle Saturday night and maybe some wintry mix by Sunday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Mike Ferguson here. Retirement should be a time you can relax. No more stress from work. But there's one thing you can't forget about when retiring. That's your money. Do you have enough saved to fund your income for life and keep up with inflation? How will you claim your Social Security benefits? And what about long-term care? The ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel is here to help answer all of these questions. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert every Saturday morning at 9 right here on News Talk STL. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
No big old corporate lib AM station telling us what to say here. Conservative talk for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com. Mike Ferguson.
You play ball like a girl.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I triple dog dare you.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice, drain the swamp, and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
I think we're going to have to come back to this question a little bit later on. Top Scott on Rumble, on the chat books, he says no to Donald Trump getting back on Facebook. He does not think he should do it.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Did he say why?
No, didn't say why. Just said he doesn't think so.
Okay.
And Curl65 on Rumble also said not necessary. And so... by the way, hi goat lady, she's on there, but she needs her coffee before she.
Oh yeah.
So
gotta get it circulating.
I'm keeping an eye on that. So we'll come back to that question. If you're just joining us, if you haven't heard yet, Facebook says okay, Donald Trump can come back on Facebook and Instagram if he wants to. They'll unlock his account here in the next week or two. Whether or not Donald Trump's going to do it, I don't know. 7:06 right now. Mike Ferguson here, Gabe Pfeiffer over there, Stel Ponticus over there. The Biden administration, are they coming after your gas stove or not? We'll have the answer to that at 7:20. We just had a conversation on that yesterday on the program with former Virginia Deputy Attorney General Ken Davis. But there's a book of regulations that every administration publishes, and their intent is very, very clear. So right around 7:20, we'll tell you what that means to your gas fireplace and water heater and stove and everything like that. Okay. I just want to make this really clear. We are not here to bash St. Louis City. I'm not even here to bash St. Louis City Hall leaders and leftists. I know that sounds funny considering that I attack their ideas constantly.
Yeah.
We want St. Louis City to succeed and thrive. That's agreed. I mean, we want to make that clear. I'm not rooting for St. Louis City to fall apart and become, some kind of post-apocalyptic wasteland that it seems to be unfortunately becoming. That's why we care. That's why we speak out. Years and years and years ago, when I was doing radio, I think it was before my TV work, but when I was my first time, early days in radio, that was back when every car crash, every shooting, every assault was the lead on the local news. TV did it, radio did it, newspapers did it, and people got tired of hearing it. And I don't blame them. If it bleeds, it leads kind of sensationalistic approach to news, and that's not what we're doing here. And I want to set that framework of this to say that's the crime and the violence and the people getting hurt and dying. I'm not saying that's not crucial. It is, but understand the ripple effects that affect the lives of those who are still in the area. You say, I live in Chesterfield. It doesn't matter. I live in St. Charles. I live in Warrenton. I live in Bowling Green. I live in Kirkwood. It doesn't really affect me. Yeah, it does. You ever go to a Cardinals game?
Mm-hmm.
It affects you.
Yeah.
You ever go to see SLU play ball? It affects you. You ever go see something at the Dome? You ever go see a concert at Stiefel Theater? You ever go do any of that stuff? It affects you.
Yeah, and the local police forces in your area are telling us that there is spillover crime, that those crimes are expanding, that the areas are much wider than just the city.
One of the reasons that the metro is kind of a money pit is because of the crime. We all know that. We know that you don't have to buy a fare to get on there. You just hop over and nobody cares. We know that. And people from time to time get hurt on the metro. We know that happens.
Mm-hmm. That was a mistake from the beginning, not having turnstiles and fares. That was insane from the first day.
You're supposed to pay.
Yes.
But they just don't. You just hop over it and nobody does it. Nobody cares. I mean, even the security officers aren't going to go, hey, you didn't pay your thing. They're just worried about somebody getting knifed.
Right, at this point.
But yeah, they should be. This should be at least an attempt to be self-sustaining on it.
Nah.
But no.
Because when they started, it was you go ahead and get on, and if one of the conductors comes by and asks you to pay your fare, fine. If you don't, you get a free ride downtown. Oh, that's the way to operate a major metropolitan area transit system. I don't think so.
Right. Yeah, we see how well it's working.
Yeah.
And really, it's that I don't care attitude, kind of built into the way, things like the metro are run that has contributed to the I don't care that seems to be the pervasive attitude in law enforcement in the city entirely, right?
Well, law enforcement
not the police themselves.
Yeah,
but, yeah.
I mean, in the city, they're just right now their heads on a swivel, just trying to deal with the most violent stuff. A task force was set up over the last 24 hours in St. Louis City to deal with a carjacking ring. There is a group of people, and I think they have suspects in mind who are basically, in a wanton fashion, simply going all over downtown and South City in particular and just carjacking people at random. Here's the difference in this case. They're not allowing people to get away. One person's already been shot to death. Another person's already been shot and injured. So when they run up and surround you, whether it's at a store or gas station, whatever, if you see them in time, throw it in reverse or get out of there, go through, they're now not content to say, all right, we'll get the next one. They're now firing at people who are trying to get away. So they've set up a task force to try to deal with this. Why is this happening? This is why we have to, we know some of the reasons that it's happening.
Yeah.
There are all of the usual suspect causes as far as broken families, as far as broken education, as far as, cultural, issues with what's glorified in pop culture and among others. And that's not unique to St. Louis. It's not unique to the urban core. It's also a factor in the suburbs. We know that. To some degree, it's a factor in the rural areas. So those are all things that we're well aware of. But in St. Louis in particular, We know that bad ideologies and bad policies have exacerbated this and essentially given the criminals a green light because of pro-criminal policies. So State Senator Nick Schroer, friend of the station, we have a lot of fun when he's on, but he's a very serious man. And he is leading the effort to have the state government take over the St. Louis City Police Department again. And both of the city police officer unions are now on board with that.
Yeah.
The Ethical Society of Police, the Black Police Officers Union, and then the St. Louis Police Officers Association, the other union as well. Both are on board with this.
Yep.
That says a lot, guys.
Yeah, and this plan includes the appointment of a special prosecutor, right? And that's, I think, going to be the key to that whole deal.
Well, that's a separate bill, but it goes along with it.
Yes.
Right, and so that's what Gabe's talking about is there's also a proposal, and this is new. So I don't know where this is going to go, but it seems to have the ears of both Republicans and Democrats, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And that would allow the governor to set up a special prosecuting attorney, appoint one for 5 years, and go in and have the free reign to prosecute criminals. So police officers know that Kimberly Gardner is not going to prosecute that person who shot at the police or carjacked somebody, or she's going to take 6 or 8 months. They can go to this prosecutor and say, here's our case, and that person will file the criminal charges. That shows a sad state of affairs in the criminal justice system in the city, but necessary. It's a necessary step, I think.
It is. And I say it's because of total incompetence. You know, one of the bones of contention that I have is I'm going back 15, 20 years maybe. When we would visit relatives in Columbus, Ohio, we would go through Indianapolis to Columbus, and I would see these comparable cities growing like crazy. And I would think, well, how come St. Louis is not in the same category? And then I visit friends in Nashville. Same thing down there. Louisville, Lexington. And these are all comparable cities that are not only growing as far as residents going in there, but companies are moving there. And we're not seeing that here.
Oh, Nashville's a great example.
Man.
Nashville's thriving.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
you drive into Nashville, and it's cranes everywhere building new buildings downtown.
They have crime, too.
Yes,
I mean, don't get me wrong. They have crime, too.
Sure.
But Nashville is thriving. But in St. Louis, you know that if you go to something downtown that you are, as part of your visit, you are inherently taking a risk that you don't take in other areas. That's the sad fact. And so when you talk about the state government saying we're going to be able, we're thinking about setting up a law that allows a prosecutor to simply bypass the circuit attorney's office, there are thousands of backlog cases. The police officers, the Metropolitan Police Department says there's over 4,000 cases. Kimberly Gardner's office says, no, there's only about 3,000.
Wait a minute.
Oh, really? Okay. Good for you. Only 3,000.
That's crazy.
And it's not a matter of she needs help. She's shown a hesitancy to prosecute even the violent criminals. A sympathy for violent actors, violent criminals. Go back to the protests, the highways getting shut down. The message has been sent. You want to use violence to hurt other people, but you're ideologically aligned with me, this is the place to be.
It's sad because what happens is when you focus so much on your sympathy or empathy or whatever for the criminals, you necessarily have to discount any sympathy or empathy for victims.
All In Man says on Rumble, police issue in the city is about control of the money. Unless they replace Kim Gardner, the crime will continue. The second part for sure, absolutely 100%. Unless they replace Kim Gardner, the crime will continue.
Mm-hmm.
Even a special prosecutor can only do so much of a dent. The police issue, it may be control about the money, but the state will spend more money because the proposal itself would have minimum staffing and funding requirements. So this would be a cost to the state, whereas the city of St. Louis, normally it's your department. You raise the money, you tax the money, you get your grants, you get your state or federal funding, and you operate your police department accordingly. So the fact of the matter is there isn't as much money going into the St. Louis City Police Department as there should be. So there is an issue of the money. That part's true. But it is more to do with this is literally becoming like an 80s Kurt Russell movie. in the St. Louis City area.
Escape from St. Louis.
Escape from St. Louis.
That's the third sequel.
Yeah. 314-912-1019. I just don't want to have to wait a few years for them to have a ready-made set for the movie.
Yeah.
Because things fall apart. So the bottom line is that the rest of the state of Missouri is now in a position, and Republicans and some Democrats alike realize that the rest of the state, the St. Louis City tends to look down on, by the way. We know that happens. State has to come in and save St. Louis from itself. I hate that. But I think that's what has to happen. I think Nick and the other lawmakers are correct on this. 314-912-1019. Just ahead, is the Biden administration actually after your gas stove? We're going to sort fact from fiction, and you're probably not going to like the answer.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL.
Hi, I'm Dr. Alan Link, owner of the Dental Link. You've heard ads about teeth in a day, but did you know that you will be chewing on plastic, acrylic teeth? Here at the Dental Link, we can give you porcelain crown and bridge teeth utilizing mini dental implants that function much more like real teeth at about half the cost. Plus, mini dental implants are less invasive, less painful, and your recovery time is much shorter. Give us a call at 314-794-6464 or simply visit us today at thedentallink.com.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Dr. Quinn, medicine women love her.
She was Jane Seymour, wasn't she?
Yes, she was. The beautiful Jane Seymour.
Yeah, you'd keep all your doctor appointments if all your doctors looked like Jane, wouldn't you?
You bet. Especially the turn your head and cough part. All right. Dr. Randy Tobler, thank you, sir.
Vic Porcelli, live and local weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
What if everything you thought and believed to be true about owning and buying your home turned out to be wrong?
Straightforward, objective advice on the right way to make the most out of every dollar you put into your home.
We're the only country that has one of those. Most other countries, considering like Canada, the UK, they don't have long-term fixed-rate mortgages like that. They're all variable-rate mortgages.
HomeWise with Michael Midget, Sunday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Are you the type of person who loves their community and wants it to be the best it can be? Now it's easier than ever to do your part. Go to recyclemode.com to see just how easy it is to recycle the right way. Or if you already recycle and want to be as efficient as possible, recyclemode.com can tell you what should and should not be recycled in your area. Become part of the clean recycling movement today. It's the right thing to do. Sponsored by the Missouri Department of Natural Resources.
Fox News commentary.
Nancy Pelosi is making bank off stock trading again. Her crystal ball really is accurate, isn't it? I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
If I could be you.
And you could be me for just 1 hour.
If you could find a way.
To get inside each other's mind.
Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
How do you become a multi-millionaire off a government salary? Well, that's a great question for former Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Several weeks ago, Mrs. Pelosi sold $3 million in Google stock, and lo and behold, this week, the DOJ has opened an investigation against Google to possibly break up its tech monopoly. That was really convenient timing, Nancy. It's almost as if you, once again, had some insider info with which to make your stock decision. This is downright dirty, folks. Our members of Congress and their spouses should be prohibited from trading stocks and profiting while in office. Thank goodness Senator Josh Hawley introduced a bill to do just that, appropriately titled the Pelosi Act. These public servants are supposed to work in our best interest, not line their own pockets. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show Tommy Lahren is Fearless at Outkick.com.
Welcome home to St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
We're executing a comprehensive strategy to secure our borders.
101.9 and 94.1.
He takes this very seriously when it comes to classified documents.
News Talk STL.
Hey, this is Larry Connors. Make sure you're listening later today at 6 o'clock on News Talk STL for my show, Larry Connors USA. Now, back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Feeling all so down.
Obviously, you're listening. Most of you are listening to us on the air, and thank you for that. We're also online, Rumble, Facebook, the podcast. For additional programs, Rumble, people forget Rumble. We have an additional program. You just heard Larry Connors right there at noon. We have Dan Bongino on a 101.9, but Larry Connors is on Rumble, the News Talk STL Rumble exclusive Larry Connors content. And then, of course,
2 hours, by the way.
2 hours, yeah, noon to 2. And then we've got the entire set of podcasts as well, so subscribe to that. I'm Mike Ferguson, 722. Got Gabe here, got Stell here. Is the Biden administration actually coming after your gas stove? We'll get to that in just a moment or so. Got Mike on the line. If you're just joining us, we were chatting about the rise in just brazen, violent crime and all of the countermeasures that both the St. Louis City Police Department are trying to take and also the state government trying to come in and, frankly, save St. Louis City from itself. Mike on line 3. You're on News Talk STL. What do you think?
Morning, Mike. You may not getting the whole picture. I spent almost 19 years on the St. Louis Fire Department. In the 70s, we sued the city for parity with the police when the police were under control of the state. Their salaries were based on what the state legislature would give to them. Then the city said, if we can't control the money, we can't control these people. So that was the reason, and the big push is to get the police back into control under the Board of Aldermen and the mayor and all of them people. So it really is exactly what I wrote on there, and you read it. It's exactly about the money, and until they do one thing, like what I said, and you read it, until they get rid of Kim Gardner, the crime in the city of St. Louis will continue, and it will escalate because the compassion that she thinks she's showing towards criminals is misplaced. And I believe it's based on another issue, which may be heritage. Okay? That's a nice way of saying something else. But I believe a lot of this stuff that's going on where they're not prosecuting these criminals because a lot of the criminals are coming out of one racial group. And so, therefore, she's not going to prosecute, and she's a George Soros guy, and he wants to destroy the world. But that being said, this is truly about money, Mike. This is what this is really about. They don't want to lose control of the money that funds the police department and the fire department. So if the state takes the police back, I wonder if the fire department is going to go back to the old way with the parity and pay.
Okay, so you're saying it's about the money for St. Louis City Hall. It's about the money for them.
Correct.
Right. Okay. I don't have an argument with that.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Yeah.
It's their money, and the police. Look, they got a tough job. I would never knock the police department. They do good work. Some are bad apples, but that being said, this is truly about their pocketbook, and the city does not want to pay base because the legislators will set the pay rate in Just City, and then they'll tell the city, eat bull, and you're going to pay it. And that's how this is going to work.
All right.
Okay?
Mike, appreciate you being on the show. Gabe, I don't know if you want to respond to that.
Well, I mean, I think there is definitely a racial element to the way Kim Gardner deals with crime in the city now. But I think it's bigger than just my fellow black folks, I'm trying to protect them. I think it's very much in line with the standard leftist intersectional idea about its race, class, sexuality. All of those things kind of contribute to the way people on the left deal with everything, right? It colors the way they see everything. So,
and it's what we're seeing in other cities like Kim Fox in Chicago, in New York, L.A., San Francisco, Seattle, Minneapolis. The same problems, the same issues, and all coming from the same source.
Yeah. But as far as like Mike's point on, for the city hall, they don't want to lose control of the money. Yeah, I have no problem believing that.
That makes sense.
For the state, this is a net loss.
Yes.
But I think they're pushed into the position to say we have to do this. So, Nick Schroer leading the charge on the bill, the support of, both police unions in the city. It's a net loss for them. So City Hall doesn't want to lose the money. Well, then they should have done a better job, and they should have kept the the city safer. And the bottom line is this: is a safer city is a more prosperous city, which means more tax revenue if businesses and customers want to go there.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you right now that there's far more attraction to put the next big thing in St. Charles.
Oh gosh, yeah.
In St. Charles County or St. Charles City or even in St. Louis County instead of the city. I think that this romantic view, and we may not get to the gas grill thing here, which is fine, but this romantic view of, downtown is the heart and soul of the entire region. It's not anymore.
Not anymore.
No, it's really not. And this romantic thing that says, well, we all have an interest in downtown thriving. Do we?
No.
I mean, we all work downtown. We're downtown right now, but my life wouldn't change if I worked somewhere else in the metro.
Not at all. I mean, look, if I'm in one of the decision makers who has millions and millions of dollars of development money, and I want to put something in this region, St. Louis City is at the bottom of my list, honestly, just because the crime itself is something I wouldn't want to deal with as a developer.
Right. I mean, the fact of the matter is that St. Louis downtown St. Louis is not the heart and soul of the region anymore, and it hasn't been for years.
Yep.
I mean,
Look at all the empty buildings.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All the empty retail slots that are on streets everywhere. You drive down Olive, Locust, Tucker, Washington, Market. My goodness, they're all either boarded up or they're covered with paper, and it's so sad to see. And the ones who are staying in business are struggling trying to make it.
Mm-hmm. So the next big thing, I mean, I would say the most recent big thing would be the Armory. The entertainment. Mm-hmm. It's not just a bar. It's it's Dave & Buster's on steroids on there. But the next time somebody wants to invest, thinking they've got something targeted to that age group, and that's targeting a younger age group, young professionals type.
Yeah,
look in Chesterfield. I mean, look at where. What's being built out there. Look at St. Charles County, like I said. I mean, that's where you look to invest. And so if it's a matter of losing the funding and the control of the money for the police department, which I have no argument with that belief. I'm sure that's a huge part of it, if not the big thing. They would be taking in more revenue with a safer city.
Yeah. My goodness, all across. I mean, how much population has St. Louis lost in the last 5 years? In the last 10 years that the city has been in control of the police?
Thousands.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Thousands. Considering we've gone from 850,000 in 1950 to 297,000 in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest drop of any metro area in the country.
Kind of a precipitous drop.
Yeah. It is.
It doesn't make any sense.
And you know what? The Armory and City Foundry, those are great developments. I was kind of surprised that IKEA moved in where they did, but good for them. But they're next to SLU's campus, and I'm sure they were thinking, okay, we've got all these kids on campus. Great site here. We're right off the highway, and I pray that they're able to sustain what they're doing and be very successful. But I'm guessing that having SLU's campus right there was probably something that they really focused on, which is fine.
Yeah, and not that far from WashU as well.
Yes.
I mean, that's a target audience for something like IKEA. And IKEA is invested because they own the building.
Yeah.
They built their own building.
They own the building and lot.
Yeah, so they own that, so they're kind of stuck. So they've got more of a vested interest in this. But we see all over the country, we see businesses just kind of tapping out and saying uncle and leaving.
Yeah.
There's only so much they can tape. I mean, Square, Jack Dorsey with St. Louis connections, tried to do his egalitarian, I'm going to bring my Square company to St. Louis, and everybody went, yay!
Just blocks from us here downtown on Tucker.
And you know who's over there in their office right now?
No.
Nobody.
Oh, my.
Because they said they can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
It's not safe.
Yeah.
And so they said we're working remotely, and then they said, okay, we're done. I don't know what they're going to do with it, but they're not bringing people downtown anymore. And why would you? I mean, we've all worked downtown for years, here and the other places we worked. And we see it every day.
The other issue Twitter had was homeless encampments around the building now.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And employees were scared to actually go out for lunch to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I've been, not like fists swinging at me, but I've been accosted, by the folks kind of walking up and down in downtown, begging for money.
Come up to your car and knock on the window?
Yep. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
On the sidewalk?
Yes.
I mean, it's, when my mom comes to visit, I don't want to take her downtown.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we go to St. Charles somewhere. I mean, if we go to a ball game or something, I make sure I take the extra effort to get the good parking and all this kind of stuff to do that. But it's it's at a critical mass right now, and I don't mean that in the sense that people say, it's now or never, because there's a lot of hyperbole on that.
Sure.
But when you look at the direction that the city has gone and is going, I think that the state legislature, Republican and Democrat alike, they see that they have to come in and take things over. I don't think there's a single person in that state legislature who wants to do that. That's my guess.
Yeah.
I know enough state legislators. I don't think any of them want. I don't think they've been waiting for the chance. Oh, now we can go get them. They really messed up. I don't think they want to deal with it. But you have, to use your word, Stel, incompetence. And I think you've got crappy ideologies, and it's all coalescing at the same time.
And we want to see the city succeed.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Yeah.
314-912-1019. Still ahead here in about 20 minutes or so. What do about half of all millennials have in common?
Lack of work ethic.
I said only half.
Bad morals.
That's
no,
only
no,
half.
okay, I'm sorry. We'll find out later.
We'll find out later here on 1019-94.1 News Talk STL.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL. St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
I think they're trying to attack the American people.
Live and local.
Gabe, Mike, Ken, you guys are my morning cup of mental coffee. I love the show. Definitely a convert from the old one.
This is News Talk STL.
From the News Talk STL newsroom, I'm Joey Vasovich. Ferguson's mayor confirmed on Wednesday that the city officially accepted the resignation of city manager Eric Osterberg. Fire Chief John Hampton will serve as interim city manager. Back in September, Osterberg announced his resignation and then retracted it days later, saying he was there to stay as long as some council members stopped interfering with him doing his job. The St. Louis Convention and Visitors Commission has brought back 7 positions it cut during the height of the coronavirus pandemic due to them relying on hotel taxes for a portion of its revenue. The commission restored its group sales coordinator, leisure travel sales coordinator, Meet St. Louis manager, 2 event managers, and 2 maintenance positions. In honor of this Friday being International Holocaust Remembrance Day, the St. Louis Kaplan Feldman Holocaust Museum has a slate of activities planned for this weekend. The 27th through the 29th are pay-as-you-wish days. All tickets purchased during the weekend must be purchased in person, and online ticket sales will be unavailable. In what's considered to be the Oscars of food, the James Beard Foundation just released its list of semifinalists, and several St. Louis chefs are named. A few of the nominees on the Best Chef Midwest list include those from Balkan Treat Box, Bull Rush, and Indo. The final awards will be announced on June 5th. And in sports, the Blues are in Phoenix tonight to face the Coyotes. Puck drop is at 8 p.m. For in-depth coverage of these stories and more, go to newstalkstl.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Cloudy and cold but dry this morning. The temperatures in the upper 20s under those cloudy skies. A little breezy, so some wind chills in the teens. Overnight tonight, we dip down into the low to mid 20s. Breezy and warmer tomorrow. 46 for the high. 51 on Saturday with a chance of a sprinkle Saturday night and maybe some wintry mix by Sunday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Hey, Colombo here for Rockwood Charcoal. I love to grill and definitely prefer using charcoal over gas. And ever since I met Jonathan Heslop and he introduced me to his product, Rockwood Lump Charcoal, I can't use anything else. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory and has been the nationally highest consumer-ranked charcoal for several years. So you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. Doesn't get any better than that. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
How is your car payment treating you? What if I told you you could make a free phone call right now and reduce your car payment by as much as $83 a month? Look at your car payment closely. You could be paying as high as 20% interest. Rate Genius can help you reduce your car payments by reducing your interest rate to as low as 2.48% APR. We can refinance most existing car loans or leased cars, new or used, and save you money every month. Put more money back in your pocket. The call is free to find out how low we can lower your car payment. 5 minutes of your time right now could save you hundreds of dollars a year. Call Rate Genius now.
800-764-2179. 800-764-2179. 800-764-2179. That's 800-764-2179.
Not all applicants qualify for a loan or rate savings. Actual offer terms, including APR, are determined at the time of your application based on creditworthiness, value of the vehicle, loan term, and other factors.
Talk radio made in St. Louis for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL.
Our responsibility.
News, analysis, and opinion.
To provide updated guidance.
At 1019, 94.1, and newstalkstl.com.
Hey, it's Joe Pags. Catch me tonight at 7 o'clock. But right now, back to more of Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
You know who's on right before Joe Pags?
Who's
Larry
that?
Connors.
What?
Larry Connors. Imagine that. Okay, so we've got more local news talk than anybody else in St. Louis when it comes to the news talk sphere.
Than anybody ever.
I think probably.
Yes. I mean, honestly, think about
I guess
it.
if you go back to the Marconi days when all you had was local, that's one thing. But, I mean, think about it. You've got us, all of us here in downtown Kansas City right now. Then you got Vic Porcelli right after this. And then, of course, we'll have Dan Bongino on at 11. But Larry Connors is available on Rumble for a live show if you want to stay local. Columbo and Katie at 2 o'clock. Chris and Tim. Chris Arps, Tim Jones at 3:30, right up to 6 o'clock. Then Larry Connors USA is on. And then Joe Pags. Well, I mean, Bill O'Reilly's got the last 15 minutes of that hour, but then Joe Pags is on at 7.
And
then,
Joe's great, by the way.
He's awesome.
I love the guy.
And then throw in our weekends.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
You look at, seriously, go to newstalkstl.com.
Yeah.
And look at the weekend lineup. You are going to see so many actual news talk shows produced either out of here or specifically for News Talk STL. We stay local news talk the entire weekend, 7 days a week. And I don't know too many other stations that still do that.
No.
Just aren't many out there.
And the program schedule is available right there.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep. All right, there's my brag. There's my brag moment. Hey, real quick note here. I've seen a couple of things floating around social media, Getter and Facebook and Twitter, that Newsmax TV is getting dropped off of AT&T's cable.
Right.
I think it was UVerse. I think AT&T.
I thought it was DirecTV. I'm sorry.
Well, DirecTV was a couple years ago.
Okay.
I think, but it's like AT&T's cable now. It looks like it's dropping Newsmax, or there's rumors they're dropping Newsmax. So, there's the petition. You'll see the post. Sign this petition. Tell AT&T to keep Newsmax on. Is that viewpoint censorship? Probably. I mean, probably. There's an awful lot of cable news outlets on the right. They may be just trimming down. I don't know.
Well, the reason I mentioned DirecTV is because I saw a story yesterday that there were contractual issues between Newsmax and DirecTV.
Yeah.
So sorry, I didn't know if
but
that
it
was
was
the same thing.
it may have been the same thing. But I when I saw that, and I thought people were getting really upset about it, and I get it. I mean, there's a lot of people. For instance, you've got Newsmax, you've got.
Real America's
Voice is One America is another one. Right Side Broadcasting, and you could go down the line. There's a lot of them out there, but if you want those channels and you're worried about the cable company dropping them, just go get their app on your TV.
Seriously.
I mean,
smart TVs, Roku's, all of those things accept these apps, and it's very easy.
I mean, when I watch Newsmax, I watch it on their streaming app on my smart TV. And it takes no time to download it, and for them it's free. Some of the others, there's maybe a monthly fee, but the ones that I watch, I mean, the First is free with Bill O'Reilly's group, and so you can find almost all of these. So bypass these tech media companies. Put our Rumble up on your smart TV. We'd love to be your morning show.
Yes.
Since we can fill your TV, and here we are. Gabe's doing the wave again.
Hi.
So,
we watch Real America's Voice on Pluto. Home.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, on their live channel thing there. I think Real America's Voice also has an app too.
Yes, they do,
Yeah,
and I watch some of their stuff on there. Yes,
so it's accessible. You don't have to be at the mercy of the cable company to do that. So when you see that, you want to get upset because they're dropping a conservative outlet. Oh, I get it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I get it. That probably there is probably some viewpoint discrimination because I doubt they're dropping the Young Turks.
Yeah.
I mean,
Good point.
They're probably not dropping MSNBC,
Right.
or some of the others that are Mother Jones if they have a channel. But you can bypass it. That's the great thing is we can bypass it completely, to do that. So just keep that in mind. Okay, if you go to, I'm going to promote my own podcast here for a minute, American Viewpoints. I posted last night one of the segments from this past weekend's program with Ken Davis, and we actually played a version of that on the show yesterday regarding the Biden administration's effort to go after your gas stove. Because remember, there was an announcement by Richard Trumka Jr., 2 weeks ago, I think it was, guys?
Yeah.
And it was really kind of matter of fact that they want to phase out the use of natural gas for cooking.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out that it's not just cooking. They're talking about natural gas water heaters. They're talking about your gas fireplace. All of these things that this is actually as part of the proposed new regulations. Once a year, twice a year, every administration puts out kind of a uniform code of regulations book that they want to do. And while the White House was backtracking and saying, no, nobody's coming for your gas stove, you weirdos, actually they are.
Yeah.
They really are.
And not just gas stoves.
Yeah.
It's expanding to everything. Like they want to eliminate natural. For some reason, the most abundant resource in America, being natural gas, is the thing they want to eliminate all usage.
Which is bizarre.
It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Imagine people in Saudi Arabia being like, you know what, we need to get off this oil stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, really, it's like why would we want to run anything on oil? I mean, it's not like we're literally floating on the thing, and the entire continental shelf is sitting on billions and trillions and quadrillions of dollars worth of the stuff. Let's just let it sit there.
It's all under the guise of the renewable energy, green new energy, and it's not just that. The gas stove is kind of the tip of the spear. And if you go to the American Viewpoints podcast, just find American Viewpoints on whatever podcast platform you're on. Please subscribe. The most recent one, you'll hear Ken Davis, who is the former Deputy Attorney General, State of Virginia, and he says they just said the quiet part out loud. The tip of the spear also includes everything from they want to require higher efficiency ratings on all appliances.
Oh, boy.
Again, on the light bulbs thing, they want to require more of that. Remember how expensive light bulbs got when they're trying to get away with the incandescent ones, and you got to go to the curly Q ones. And the curly Q ones do last a lot longer, and they will save you money. But here's the thing. They want to get everybody onto electric appliances. They say that, and they want higher efficiency standards because of emissions and global warming and all the nonsense that they're talking about. Okay, they say you're going to save money by having a more efficient appliance. Once you get past spending thousands of dollars to buy the ones that the government tells you have to have.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's always subsidies involved in all these things. The government's when the government is pushing a product, they're going to tie money to it somehow. And the industries are going to respond as best they can to manage to, they're going to do what businesses do and try to make as much money in the environments in which they find themselves as best they can. And usually that involves accepting government subsidies to do stupid things.
I remember a few years ago, they kind of focused on shower heads. I don't know if you remember,
I remember that. Yeah.
And now I saw a list yesterday that includes not only shower heads, but also water heaters, furnaces, clothes washers, dishwashers, ceiling fans, microwave ovens. And then the Babylon Bee had a nice little comment yesterday about the administration saying, stop cooking on a gas stove for 2 weeks so we can flatten the curve.
Yes, there it is.
I thought that was great.
Oh, Babylon Bee wins again.
Yes.
I mean, this is a cultish mindset of environmentalist crazies, and that's what's driving the Biden administration's to-do list right now. In addition to the leftists in Congress, many institutions, I'm talking about the academy, I'm talking about media, talking about K through 12 education, they're really being driven by this environmentalist cult. And there are people in this cult who are very sincere. They have been taught and they actually believe that the world is about to end. Now, I'm only 51 years old, but I think I remember at least 5 or 6 the world is about to end dire predictions. I'm still waiting on the ice age we were supposed to have by now.
Yeah.
The ozone was supposed to be gone. I remember all of these things, and they come and they go. But there are people who truly think that they are trying to save the world.
Yeah, and it's really sad too, because I mean, like you said, Mike, we've been around this block a few times. I mean, I'm 45. I remember 40 years of predictions of dire consequences for the environment, whether it's, like you said, the ice age, acid rain, hole in the ozone layer, plastics, filling the oceans and destroying all of the little rings that you have on your 6-pack of Coke is going to choke a dolphin to death, and we're never going to have any dolphins anymore. All the various species of animals that we love and that are cute are going to go extinct. It's been the same thing for decades and decades and decades, and none of it ever comes true. None of it.
But this is the tool. This is the vehicle that delivers a Marxist set of policies. And the weird thing is, ask any anthropologist worth their skin. They say, "Oh, the temperature goes up. Oh, the oceans rise. That means more food."
Yeah. Hello. Well, carbon dioxide is a plant fertilizer.
Yeah.
Like they love those. They love that stuff. And we can produce more food. We can get more people. It's fine. It'll be fine.
Yeah, we're going to survive just fine. But it's not about your stove. It's not about your water heater. It is about control. And this is the vehicle and the useful idiots that they're using to try to impose this on you. So just keep that in mind. All right, just ahead, what do half of all millennials have in common? And also, what are the things that your doctor is saying? Would you please stop believing that about your food? That's still ahead right here on 1019-94.1 News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
It's Thursday, and at 4:05, Todd Grays, chairman of the Herzog Foundation, and at 4:25, Jim Carafano from the Heritage Foundation.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 3:30 on News Talk STL.
Hi, I'm Jen Wallner.
And I'm Rodney Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Rodney, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission rate?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
When's the best time to sell your home?
Right now. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
Hey, it's Katie. We here at News Talk STL really appreciate the growth in our business during our first 18 months since we signed on the air. We appreciate the great local businesses like Save Money with Doug Voss, Crypto World, and the Natural Institute of Health that have all become part of our family of advertising partners. If your business is interested in becoming part of the News Talk STL family, simply send an email to info@newstalkstl.com.
1019-94.1 News Talk STL.
Are you looking for the cheapest prices on car insurance? Then call the Cheap Car Insurance Hotline right now. Hey, you're guaranteed to save money on your car insurance. Most car insurances can be canceled at any time. That means if you find a better deal, you can switch right away. We're not just one company. We offer most of the major brands of car insurance. We're like a discount supermarket for car insurance. And it doesn't matter if you have a good record or a bad driving record. Our agents are experts at finding you the right car insurance for your needs. Our average customer saves hundreds of dollars a year when they call us to switch. So why don't you make this 100% free call right now and see how much you can save on your car insurance. Paid for by AIS Insurance.
800-721-5741. 800-721-5741. 800-721-5741. That's 800-721-5741.
Hey, it's Katie, reminding you to subscribe to our show podcast so you never miss anything that happens here at News Talk STL. Get our podcasts every day on the show pages at newstalkstl.com, or just subscribe to your favorite shows on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, or anywhere else you get your podcasts.
Dan Bongino here. Keep it on News Talk STL because my show starts at 11 a.m. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Okay, try to figure this out, guys.
Okay.
Nearly half of all millennials in America, just under 50%, like 47, 48%, have one thing in common. and it doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat or independent. Their numbers are basically the same across the board. What do you think is the thing that's different about millennials, for the most part? Some boomers have this too. What have they done? What do they do that's different? 1 and 2.
Delayed moving out of their parents' house.
No, I'm talking only 50% here.
Only 50. Okay. Well, see, I guess that's kind of the thing. I keep thinking of most millennials. Let's see. Tattoos.
Tattoos.
Oh.
That's what it is.
Nice. You go on to the bonus round.
Yeah. See, I was about to say, what do your daughter and my daughter have in common?
Yeah.
So
about the same age. Yeah. About the same thing that we kind of cringed about when they told us they did it.
I'm getting to the point where I'm like, you're gonna regret that.
That's not a good idea.
Now, 13% of boomers have tattoos, and I'm going to guess that the boomers who have tattoos probably have military tattoos.
They served.
Yeah, that's my guess on that. Overall, 29% of Americans have a tattoo, but that's up about 8% from 10 years ago. There's no stigma to it anymore, and I don't know that there should be, but there's really, that's just a cultural shift. I think for some reason I found it interesting. I personally don't have any tattoos on me. I don't know if you guys do or not.
No,
but
I don't.
I don't. But I don't know. I'm not sure. I do think that it has become basically a socially acceptable method of self-harm, essentially, for this mentally ill generation. But I'm not sure that later on the cultural acceptability of it is going to last. I think I don't know.
I find that interesting. Why is that?
I don't think, later in life when you settle down and you're having kids and you're living life, I don't think they're going to look back on it as a good thing, and they're not going to promote it with their kids.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like and of course the typical cultural rebellion that usually happens with the next generation, the kids are going to see their tatted up parents and going to be like, I'm not sure I want to do that.
Yeah. Why do you have a wilting flower on your? Well, that was
it was
back in the day. It was a butterfly. But now
it's
just sagged. By the way, and for the millennials who are Republican, 27%, Independents 28%, Democrats 29%. So across the board, it's about the same. It's not a partisan thing or life outlook thing.
I have to say, when I'm driving around, it seems as though you see tattoo parlors almost everywhere, at least here in the city when I drive around.
Amber is loyal to her tattoo. Artist.
Parlor?
Yeah, the artist who does.
Oh, yeah.
And she's got some intricate, work done, and she's very loyal to that shop.
There are even the would-be wannabe sort of tattoo artists who basically they manage to they've managed to find a gun, and they'll do it in their living room or something like that.
Right, it's called the hepatitis special. Yeah.
No, they sterilize it,
Yeah, I mean, I know they run the hairdryer over it or something like that.
Yeah.
Real good. I found this interesting list here as well. And by the way, at 8:05, Henry Olsen from the Washington Post, he is their token Republican columnist.
The one.
We're gonna get into the Biden documents, the Pence documents, the Trump documents, because he's got a kind of a broader view of it, and he says get to the bottom of it for sure. But he's actually got a little different take than both many Republicans and Democrats in saying get to the bottom of it, then let people decide, let the voters decide. We got an election coming up. I think it's an interesting take that he's got. So we'll talk to him at 8:05 about that. Nutrition myths your doctors are sick of hearing, because a lot of people are abandoning their New Year's resolutions right about now.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Eating right is always one of the biggest ones. What do you think would be one of those nutrition myths that people believe but is actually not true?
Don't eat eggs?
That actually is not on this list, but that is one of them.
Eat eggs.
Yeah. How about this?
Well, they're expensive now. So
I
understand.
It's like eggs are, like I said, it's barnyard caviar at this point.
Barnyard caviar.
There's a belief that fresh fruit is inherently healthier than frozen fruit.
Really?
That's not true.
No, it's not.
No, because they're flash frozen at the time of peak ripeness. You're still getting all the nutrients.
Yeah.
So frozen food's just fine on that. Plant-based milk is healthier than actual dairy milk.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, not true.
That's dumb.
Not true.
Well, plant-based anything isn't necessarily healthier than the other stuff.
I've heard folks comment that raw milk is awesome.
I've
And
never had raw milk.
Nor
I don't
nor
know.
have I.
Here's another one that I thought was interesting because I believe this. They say it's hard, where people say it's hard for vegetarians to get enough protein. I always assumed that was the truth, but apparently it's not. Because they say as long as you eat a mix of vegetables, it's easier to get protein than most people thinking if you're getting, nuts and grains and a lot of beans and things like that, because there's a lot of different proteins in that. So I believed that until I saw this list.
Well, I think they might be quibbling a little bit because you have to eat a whole lot more of that stuff in order to get the same amount of protein. So, yes, that's true.
Yeah, but it's accessible.
It is accessible. Yeah, you can get protein from, vegetarian-based diet. And
I don't know why you'd want to.
No. Well, there is one thing, and I can't remember what the thing is called, but it's something you basically have to have an injection for because it only exists in meat.
Suggestion on the Rumble chat box says if you want eggs, rent a chicken.
Rent a chicken. There you go.
All right, Biden documents, Pence documents, Trump documents. What's the bigger picture here? What should be done with all of these suspects? I don't know. We'll talk about that with Henry Olson of the Washington Post here at 8:05.
Hey, Columbo here, and many of you know that one of my favorite things to do when I have some free time is to get out on the water and go fishing. And the folks at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton are the people you should see before your next fishing trip. No matter what you're fishing for, they have everything you need, from gear to lures to live bait. Plus, they can even set you up on a guided fishing tour on the Mississippi River. Make sure the tackle box is ready for your next trip by visiting Bluff City Outdoors at 2813 East Broadway in Alton and bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Life insurance is one of those things that just about everybody needs, but few people actually have. Hey, if you die unexpectedly without life insurance, guess what? You'll leave your family with even a bigger mess. Life insurance will help replace your family's income. It'll help cover burial expenses. Life insurance can even help pay off debt like credit cards and medical bills. Life insurance can even pay for college. And if you own a business and you die, life insurance can help your business from collapsing. It can even help cover estate taxes. Life insurance has never been more affordable and needed. Plus, you can always shop around even if you have a plan and save some money. So call the Life Insurance Quote Line right now for free pricing information.
800-979-3060. 800-979-3060. 800-979-3060. That's 800-979-3060.
Hey, Columbo here for our family dentist, Dr. Matt Boscia at New Creation Dental Care, a one-stop solution for all your family's dental needs, including braces. Dr. Boscia uses the My Forever Smile Braces system, which straightens teeth many times in less than a year for half the price of traditional braces. Traditional braces or Invisalign can cost $6,000 or more, but Dr. Boscia only charges $29.98 for My Forever Smile, and incentives and insurance can lower the price even more, plus New Creation offers in-office financing. Learn more at newcreationdentalcare.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Greg Clugston in Washington. Investigators say they still don't know the motive behind the weekend massacre that left 11 people dead at a ballroom dance hall in Monterey Park, California.
Los Angeles County Sheriff Robert Luna says the 72-year-old suspect had no known connection to the victims, and investigators believe he had not frequented the dance studio in the last 5 years. At a Wednesday news conference carried by KABC, Luna said investigators did locate a motorcycle a block from the crime scene that was registered to Hucan Tran.
Investigators believe it was placed there by the suspect as an alternative getaway vehicle.
The sheriff says investigators are not sure how long Tran had been planning the attack. I'm Donna Warder.
Ukraine has again come under attack from Russian drones and missiles a day after Germany and the U.S. agreed to supply the country with modern tanks.
First, it was an overnight wave of Russian attacks using Iranian-made explosive drones. Ukraine's Air Force said it shot down all of them. 24, it said, but the head of the Dnipropetrovsk region reported one industrial facility being hit. Then, in the morning, came missiles. Energy facilities in the southern region of Odessa have been hit, causing power cuts, with emergency blackouts also imposed in other areas. Yesterday, President Zelensky called the US and German decisions on tanks extremely good news. But it'll be months and many more wintertime attacks before significant numbers arrive.
That's the BBC's Danny Eberhardt. For the past 2 years, Donald Trump has been banned from Facebook and Instagram, but that suspension will end soon. The former president was booted off the social media platforms after the January 6 riot. The Commerce Department says the U.S. economy grew 2.9% the last 3 months of last year. More at townhall.com.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance. For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-940-6161. That's 1-800-940-6161. Or go to SelectQuote.com. That's 1-800-940-6161. SelectQuote. We shop, you save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
The head of the newly created House...
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Cloudy and cold but dry this morning. The temperatures in the upper 20s under those cloudy skies. A little breezy, so some wind chills in the teens. Overnight tonight, we dip down into the low to mid-20s. Breezy and warmer tomorrow. 46 for the high. 51 on Saturday with a chance of a sprinkle Saturday night and maybe some wintry mix by Sunday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by The Dental Link. Call Dr. Alan Link today, 314-794-6464 to schedule your free consultation. Offices in Baldwin and Melville, 314-794-6464.
Hi, Sean Long for STL Fence Works. For over 50 years, our time-honored commitment to quality, service, and affordability make STL Fence Works the go-to authority for fence, deck, and leisure space projects. During these unsure times of severe inflation and supply shortages, you can depend on STL Fence Works to meet your needs. Being the #1 fence and deck contractor in the state, we've leveraged our position to make contract buy-ins hedging against price increases. Also, our buying power has allowed us to stockpile fence and deck material. There are no shortages at STL Fence Works. In fact, we have more fence and deck material on hand now than we have had at any time in our 50-year history. Lastly, our commitment to a quality and customer-first approach has never wavered. Your project will be completed by experienced craftsmen in a timely manner, and our lifetime warranty reinforces that commitment. STL Fence Works warranty surpasses anything offered in the industry. Visit STLFenceWorks.com and allow us to bring your backyard dreams to life. As always, at STL Fence Works, your satisfaction is our passion.
St. Louis's place to talk.
Because that's where the votes are getting stolen. When you get into the facts and logic and reason thing, it drives me crazy because you're right.
I call it the oh my God virus.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion. Mike Ferguson.
I am a young, vibrant man.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I'm Batman.
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Get up! Get up!
We can't rebuild our economy and meet this climate crisis.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Got my stuff messed up as I was heading into that last information break. We're going to talk to Henry Olsen at 8:35 from the Washington Post about the whole Biden documents and Pence documents and Trump documents thing. You definitely want to check that. I'm really curious what people can think of his arguments, because I know there's probably going to be a lot of people, both Republican and Democrat, but particularly on the Republican side, may not be on board 100% with what he's arguing for. Although I think it's worth hearing. Let me put it that way. I think it's worth hearing. Whether or not I'm on board with it either, I'll hear him out first. All right, it is 8:06 right now. Mike Ferguson here with Gabe Pfeiffer and Stel Ponticus, joined now by Amy Lutz, our friend from the St. Louis Holocaust Museum. And Amy, first of all, appreciate you being back on the program. This is an important weekend when it comes to the historical remembrances, when it comes to, not just the Jewish people, but the Holocaust overall. So tell me about this weekend, and then we'll get into what's happening at the museum here in the St. Louis area.
Absolutely, and thanks for having me back on. So every year on January 27th, which is tomorrow, Friday this year, the world commemorates International Holocaust Remembrance Day. And what that is it is a day of commemoration, a day of memorialization that is, we chose the day, January 27th, because it's the anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau in 1945 by the Red Army. And so every year, international organizations, Holocaust museums, political leaders, civic leaders really just pause for a day to commemorate the 6 million Jewish people, the millions more who were murdered during the Holocaust, and really take a second to think about what we can do to prevent something like this from happening again.
Good morning, Amy. Gabe Pfeiffer here. So what sort of activities are going to be available this weekend? I imagine it's going to span the entire weekend.
Absolutely. So we've got a few different things going on at the St. Louis Kaplan Feldman Holocaust Museum. So tomorrow during our open hours, it's going to take place from about 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We're going to do what's called a reading of the names. A lot of Holocaust museums do this. And so for about 6 hours or so on a live stream, on our Facebook page, on our YouTube page, we're going to have people reading the names of individuals killed during the Holocaust for multiple hours. It's, really somber, really emotional. And so we'll have members of our staff, members of our board, some civic leaders doing that. And then throughout all the weekend, beginning tomorrow and going through Sunday, we're going to have what we call Pay As You Wish weekend. And so normally our adult tickets are $12, but this weekend, anyone coming to the museum can pay however much they want for a ticket. As long as it's a penny, they can pay a penny, they can pay $20, they can pay $12, however much they want. That'll last the entire weekend. And then finally, we're going to cap off the weekend at 5 p.m. on Sunday. We're going to host the incredible Holocaust scholar, Dr. Peter Hayes, who wrote the book Why. It's a really seminal book about the Holocaust, how the Holocaust started. And so he's going to give a lecture called Why the Jews, the up and down history of anti-Semitism. So that should be something that is a really great way to cap off this important weekend.
Okay, so in the St. Louis Holocaust Museum is that would be Creve Coeur where you're at. I'm trying to remember which suburb, but it's going to be Creve Coeur. It's kind of funny. I could drive right there, but I'm trying to remember where the lines of all the different suburbs are. And I've mentioned this before. My wife Rachel and I are actually members at the museum. When people come out to this, and we've talked about the museum before, the renovations are complete. The expansion, at least for the time being, are complete. What's the feedback that you're getting from those who are going through, especially the first time that they go through?
Absolutely. So, yeah, we're lucky to have been open for getting close to 3 months now. We opened in November. And, as usual, we have a range of reactions. Some people go through the museum and they're completely silent. It's a really emotional experience. Some people are emotional. Some people are, empowered by the stories of our survivors. But overall, we've gotten, really positive reactions. We have Mike, as you know, we have a reflection wall at the end of our experience where people can leave their reflections. And so we get a lot of comments like, either I didn't know this happened and I'm glad I went through this, or, it's important to never forget. And so we've gotten a lot of really important reactions. And, honestly, I think it's been very positive so far.
I ask a version of this every time Amy's on, and you're on a couple times a year or so. And that is there's a lot of people who say, okay, great, it's a museum. I need to learn my history. I'll go check it out. But can you guys stop with these so it never happens again? We would never let something like that happen again. What's the reality of the risk of anything on this scale happening again? Because there's a lot of people who just believe it just could never happen, Amy.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And I would answer, one of my colleagues always says, well, never again is happening right now. The Holocaust is not occurring, but genocides haven't ended. We see what's happening with the Uyghurs in China. We see what happened in Rwanda. We see what happened in Bosnia throughout the 20th century. And certainly the Holocaust was not the last genocide. But one of the things that we really focus on in the museum is the beginnings of the Holocaust, the choices that people made that happened long before the genocide really occurred. So the stereotyping, the scapegoating of the Jewish people, the prejudice, the discrimination. We really point those things out in the museum because those are things that, of course, still happen in the world today that we can challenge on, a much different scale. And so, the Holocaust has not happened again, but many, many genocides, acts of hate crimes have continued to happen. And that's really what we want to empower people to fight against.
Yeah, and the anti-Semitism, it should be noted, is not exclusive to either side of the political ideology.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunately very widespread. We see the rates of anti-Semitism going up, especially online. You see a lot of that. I can tell you, as a Holocaust museum, we've certainly got some of it ourselves. People leaving comments and things like that. And so, unfortunately, you're right. It is universal. People of all political stripes do express that opinion, and that's something we really want to point out and really lessen and get rid of.
It seems over history, anti-Semitism has kind of risen and fallen, in all of our societies. Is there usually a catalyst for this? Is there a particular type of thing that we should look for that usually happens just before the escalation, or is it just kind of it's just the period of human interaction?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I would say, unfortunately, on one level, anti-Semitism has existed for hundreds of years, and there's very few periods where it doesn't exist. But you're right in that it goes through cycles, where it rises and it falls, and it gets worse, and then it kind of fades away. So some scholars talk about anti-Semitism being kind of the canary in the coal mine, that anti-Semitism is the first sign of a greater problem coming. So you see, during the Holocaust, anti-Semitism was right there from the beginning with the Nazi Party, and then of course it grew into something much bigger. In terms of signs, it's a great question. I mean, during the Holocaust, the Jewish people were scapegoated. The German people were decimated by World War I. Were very, depressed economically and I think culturally as well. And unfortunately, there were radical leaders looking for someone to blame. And in that case, it was the Jews. And that's not the only time that's happened in history. Scapegoating is very common. So I think, you look for signs like that. But I would also say that anti-Semitism continues to exist, and we just need to monitor it and, push back against it when it happens.
We are visiting with Amy Lutz from the St. Louis Holocaust Museum. What's that pushback look like? I know that it's hard for somebody when they hear something to bring it up or risk a confrontation with a friend or a family member. But what does that pushback look like, or what should it look like to be effective?
Yeah, so that's a great question, because the answer to that is different for every single person. So we talk a lot about, we've got a place in the museum that's not quite open yet, but it's called the Impact Lab, where we're going to give people an opportunity to actually practice their responses for things like this. So let me give you an example. I am a youngish woman, and
you're young, Amy.
In this room, you are.
True. And if I see an act of anti-Semitic violence happening on the street, and I am outside by myself, because of the body I'm in, I am not going to jump in, because that would put me in danger. But what I can do is I can record it, I can report it, I can check in on the person. And so, pushback looks like a lot of different things. Sometimes for all of us, it's just acknowledging that anti-Semitism and hatred exists and pointing it out, calling it out, either just online or with your friends. But doing what you can to push back in the situation, depending on the situation that you're in, and just trying to make the right choice every single time.
All right. What's the website people want to learn more? And you said it's Pay As You Wish today through, was it Sunday? Or I'm sorry, tomorrow through Sunday, I think it is. Friday
tomorrow
through
Sunday. Yeah, so Pay As You Wish tomorrow through Sunday. All tickets actually have to be purchased in person, so you can't buy them online this weekend. But our website for all this information is stlholocaustmuseum.org.
All right. Amy Lutz, good to talk to you again. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
All right, 314-912-1019. We got an update on a lot of things happening around St. Louis and around the world. How about this? Should Donald Trump get back on Facebook? I'm curious what you think about that. And at 8:35, Henry Olson from the Washington Post give us his kind of 10,000-foot look at how should we deal with the Biden document situation, the Pence papers situation, the Trump document situation. He's got a perspective that I think is worth hearing out. You may agree, you may disagree, but I think it's worth hearing out. That's all still ahead right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey folks, Tim Jones here for Hanson's Tree Service, available 24/7 at hansonstree.com. Chad Hanson offering a 10% winter discount for everyone in News Talk STL Nation for all tree care services performed from now until March 31st, 2023. Just mention that when you're giving them a call. That includes all removals, trim and pruning, deadwood removal, stump grinding, everything for the exterior of your home, all your landscaping around that homestead or small business. Great chance to save money and time before winter storms really roll in. 636-379-1830, 24/7 at hansonstree.com.
In times of economic uncertainty and chaos, your money means nothing. You may not even be able to get it from your bank or ATM. And the money you do have in the stock market will go down and down. What you can bank on is gold and silver. Gold and silver have been a reliable and trusted form of currency for thousands of years. Gold and silver have never been worth zero, and typically gold holds its value during economic turmoil. Call the Gold Hotline now and learn how to protect your money and your assets with gold and silver. And learn how to set up a new IRA or roll over your current one into a gold-backed IRA. Protect your money from the next market crash with gold and silver. Call now for your free gold guide.
800-281-4224. 800-281-4224. 800-281-4224. That's 800-281-4224.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Senator Talent, good afternoon. Welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show.
Something has to be done about this administration ruling by decree. You know, the president just issues a decree that the student loans are forgiven. He issues a decree that the immigration laws don't exist and people can come in.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 3:30 on News Talk STL.
Fox News commentary.
Nancy Pelosi is making bank off stock trading again. Her crystal ball really is accurate, isn't it? I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
If I could be you.
And you could be me for just 1 hour.
If you could find a way
to get inside each other's mind.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
How do you become a multi-millionaire off a government salary? Well, that's a great question for former Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Several weeks ago, Mrs. Pelosi sold $3 million in Google stock, and lo and behold, this week, the DOJ has opened an investigation against Google to possibly break up its tech monopoly. That was really convenient timing, Nancy. It's almost as if you, once again, had some insider info with which to make your stock decision. This is downright dirty, folks. Our members of Congress and their spouses should be prohibited from trading stocks and profiting while in office. Thank goodness Senator Josh Hawley introduced a bill to do just that, appropriately titled the Pelosi Act. These public servants are supposed to work in our best interest, not line their own pockets. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show Tommy Lahren is Fearless at Outkick.com.
Whether at home or at work, you're mobile. So when you're mobile, stay mobile. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at newstalkstl.com.
Hey, this is Larry Connors. Make sure you're listening later today at 6 o'clock on News Talk STL for my show, Larry Connors USA. Now, back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Okay, a few things happening here. St. Louis police officers say they want the state government to resume control of the department after 10 years. Facebook says Donald Trump will be allowed back on the platform. What do you think about that? 314-912-1019. And the Blues are back on the road, hoping to start another winning streak. It's 8:20 right now. Gabe's here. Stella's here. My name's Mike. St. Louis police have formed a task force to deal with this rash of carjackings that's happening right now, as in over the past 3 days. Carjackers have killed one woman this week and shot another who survived. Crimes are just getting more and more and more brazen, so everybody in the city is warned to take extra precautions. Legislation is moving through, being kind of shepherded by our friend of the station, Nick Schroer, who is, on every Sunday night here on News Talk STL as well. But his legislation to enact a state retakeover of the St. Louis City Police Department now has the support of both the president of the St. Louis Police Officers Association and of the Ethical Society of Police. So both police officers' unions say they want the state government in control of the police department, not City Hall. That speaks volumes, guys.
Yeah, I think this is the right move. I think there's only, the city's hasn't got much time left to be under city control right now, because the longer it's been, the longer it's been under city control, the police have been under city control, and the longer somebody like Tashara Jones is in charge of all of this stuff, there's only so long we have before the city is completely unlivable.
Right.
Honestly.
And there are parts of the city unlivable now, but there are still some great parts of St. Louis City.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right, that's going to eventually creep into other areas. Matter of fact, Stell, there's another proposal in the state legislature that seems to be gaining steam. I don't know if they've got time to make it happen this legislative session, but it would allow the governor to appoint a special prosecuting attorney who would have the authority to go in and just be a parallel prosecutor, and law enforcement could go to that person, and that person could file criminal charges and do a prosecution with or without Kimberly Gardner, so they could completely bypass Kimberly Gardner. Now, they're working on a lot of details. They're negotiating things on that. It may or may not happen, but I think that's a creative idea. And again, I don't necessarily, all things being ideal, you wouldn't want the state government coming in to control your local government. But I think we're in a position now where the state government simply has to come in and save St. Louis from itself.
You mentioned the issues dealing with the city. I have a couple friends who moved here from Detroit, and this might have been 15 years or so ago when they moved here. And now when I talk to them, they have made the comment about, golly, I feel like this is Detroit 2.0 in St. Louis.
Wow.
And I thought, ooh, that hurts.
Yeah.
But I look at Detroit and I realize, okay, the city itself is deteriorating up there, and we've got the same situation here.
Wow, that's a gut punch.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, whenever I see pictures of Detroit, I'm like, wow, this looks like a Beirut in the 1980s, right? Mm-hmm. It's horrible. It's kind of hollowed out. Abandoned buildings, graffiti everywhere. The remnants of old homeless encampments everywhere, and of course the crime, which it hits the statistical high points every year. So to be compared to Detroit, that's a big deal.
That's not good at all. All right, other things happening in Congress. Republican lawmakers calling on President Biden to take more action to address the ongoing crisis at the southern border. Hey, remember that?
Yeah. Wait, what?
Yeah, there's a thing going on there.
Oh,
Fox News' Ashley Strohmeyer has that story.
7 House Republicans blamed President Biden for not doing enough to crack down on drugs and the cartels at the border when he met with the Mexican president a few weeks ago. Instead of tackling drugs, the cartel, and human trafficking, they spoke on equity and inclusion. This comes as the DEA says they seized more than 50.5 million fentanyl-laced fake prescription pills and 10,000 pounds of fentanyl powder. Meanwhile, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is leading 20 states who are suing the Biden administration over its migrant parole program announced this month. Florida, Missouri, Utah, and Tennessee being among them.
Okay, here's what's interesting. Another story here. We're getting, for the most part on Rumble at least, I don't know what they're saying on Facebook yet, Gabe, but Facebook is saying they are going to end the 2-year ban on Donald Trump being on that platform. So one of the main questions is, will he take them up on the offer? Here's what's going on. Nick Clegg is the global affairs president for Meta, which is the company that owns Facebook and Instagram. He was on Special Report with Brett Baer talking about their offer to Donald Trump to come back and be active on the platforms.
We believe the American people should hear from, including on our apps and services, from those who want to lead them. And he's a former president of the of this country, vying to be a candidate for the next presidential elections, and we don't really want to, all other things be equal, stand in the way.
Okay, of course, the offer from Twitter is there, and Donald Trump said thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah.
Should he go back on Facebook?
And is a really good question. I'm not sure who needs who more, whether it's Facebook needing Donald Trump because of how low their engagement is, how much money they're losing. They just laid off 10,000 people. Stella, you mentioned that earlier. And Donald Trump, we know, can get people riled up. That's the way social media works. People engage more with stuff they don't like.
That's right.
Honestly. So yeah, I mean, but he is running for president. I think he does need a social media presence in various, areas just to be able to reach the possible voters who, frequent those areas. So I don't know. I would probably tell him to have a presence. I don't know if I want him, posting on the regular, his hot takes. I mean, it's a bit of both basically for me.
I remember back to the comment, Mike, that you made about Trump getting on and what type of interaction that would cause. And my thought earlier in the show was, you know what? He could actually sit back and not post anything, but he could interact with all the folks and push back on different comments that are made. And he may just enjoy doing that.
The majority of people who are commenting on Rumble, at least in the Rumble chat box, the majority have said, not worth it. He shouldn't bother with it, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, it is. I mean, nobody's saying anything on Facebook at all, which may speak volumes in and of itself. It's like, I don't care.
And you mentioned earlier, Mike, about the rally coming up this weekend in South Carolina. We'll see if he comments about the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I forgot. I forgot what day that is that he's out there, that he's going to be speaking. But it'll be his first rally of the campaign for 2024.
It's either Saturday or Sunday. Yeah.
He should post the full video to Facebook.
Live stream it.
Facebook Live.
That would actually be a good way for him if he went back on Facebook to just start with his post and just stream it there.
Yep.
That'd be interesting. I don't know what he's going to do. Nobody knows what Donald Trump's going to do. I mean, how do you predict what Donald Trump is going to do?
Nah.
Who knows? So if you're on Rumble or you're not, jump on Rumble or Facebook and let us know what you think. Or 314-912-1019. Got about 2-3 minutes here. We can get your thoughts in on this as well. Interesting situation in Wildwood here. Another news story here a little bit closer to home. Just off of Wild Horse Creek Road. The road's been there forever. Old Slave Road.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And every once in a while you'll hear somebody saying, hey, is that really a good idea? Well, the people who live on that road, because there's a development on that road, they went to the Wildwood City Hall with a petition saying, can we change this name, please? And Wildwood City Hall said, yep. And so that is now being called Madison Valley. Now, the history of this is why I bring it up. It's kind of interesting because those plots of land where that, residential, where everything's been, built out there, is actually the location of two former plantations. And it was also the home of Elijah Madison, who was a former slave who settled there.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where the name came from, was Old Slave Road, slave being Elijah Madison. And so the name change is happening on the road, but a plaque to honor Elijah Madison is being put up somewhere along the road there. And I don't know what it's going to look like, but I think that's kind of interesting. And this does not strike me as one of those snowflakery type things. I think this is one that yeah, that makes sense.
It's pretty
That
sincere,
makes sense,
and I
yeah.
like the idea of the plaque. That's a great idea.
Mm-hmm. And my favorite aspect of it is that it's the residents, it's the people who live there, the people who are going to be most affected by this, who are the ones who pushed for it, as opposed to some outside group looking for clout or to raise money or to cause a ruckus.
Yeah, some college group decides to take on a project.
Right,
So they
exactly.
Google search, street names or something like that. All right, 314-912-1019. Blues back on the road today. They play Arizona tonight at 8 o'clock. That game between the Blues and the Coyotes happens on ESPN Plus if you want to watch that game. So 8 o'clock our time, which would be, 6 o'clock local time out there. So you can see it at 8 tonight. The Blues need to get back on a winning streak.
Oh, absolutely.
They've been kind of going back and forth, no losing or winning streaks, kind of 500-ish over the last 10 games or so. but we're getting late enough in the season. They need to move up from the middle of the pack if they want to get into the playoffs this year.
And we can't have any more games like the last one.
No,
My
the one in
goodness.
that was ugly.
Oh, it's hurt.
The Buffalo one.
Yeah.
I don't even want to talk about that.
It's like, it hurts me.
Oh my goodness. All right, just ahead, Henry Olsen from the Washington Post. He is their token Republican columnist. Let's talk about the Biden documents and the Pence papers and the Trump papers. Should there be criminal investigations, or should we get to the bottom of it and then let the voters decide? There's actually some precedent here.
Yeah.
We're going to talk to you about that right around 8:35 on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
I should hate you as well.
Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
What citizen wouldn't want to make America great again?
Live and local.
And their leadership has been substandard.
I think the word substandard is immensely polite.
This is News Talk STL.
From the News Talk STL newsroom, I'm Joey Vasovich. The city of Cool Valley officially voted to impeach Mayor Jason Stewart by a 4-3 majority by the Cool Valley aldermen last night. Witnesses testified Stewart used a city police car and gas card for personal use and failed to hand over financial documents to locate $230,000 in COVID relief money. A 32-year-old Chillicothe man was charged Wednesday with setting fire to the Planned Parenthood clinic in Peoria earlier this month. Security footage showed someone using a Molotov cocktail-type device to set the fire. If convicted, the man faces up to 40 years in prison with a minimum sentence of 5 years. A fire damaged part of the BP gas station in Bridgeton on St. Charles Rock Road Wednesday afternoon. Investigators say the fire possibly started due to an overloaded electrical system. Someone inside the building smelled smoke, noticed the flames, and quickly prompted others to evacuate. Alcohol distributor Breakthrough Beverage in Ellendale says bars and restaurants will start receiving Yingling on draft by February 6th, and they will have packaged products by March 6th. Yingling, which was founded in Pottsville, Pennsylvania, mostly sells its products in the northeast and southeast region of the United States. World-renowned glass artist Dale Chihuly will bring his colorful works to the Botanical Garden this spring, officials announced yesterday. Chihuly and his crew created 18 installations that will add more dramatic color throughout the garden's 79 acres. Member tickets go on sale March 1st. For in-depth coverage of these stories and more, go to newstalkstl.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Cloudy and cold but dry this morning. The temperatures in the upper 20s under those cloudy skies. A little breezy, so some wind chills in the teens. Overnight tonight, we dip down into the low to mid 20s. Breezy and warmer tomorrow. 46 for the high. 51 on Saturday with a chance of a sprinkle Saturday night and maybe some wintry mix by Sunday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Hi there. Hey, it's Tony Colombo inviting you to join me for a great show coming to Westport Playhouse for 2 consecutive nights, February 3rd and 4th. The Retro Nerds present a tribute to Sting and Peter Gabriel. Support local music and come see a great show at the beautiful, newly reopened Westport Playhouse. Enjoy the music of Sting and Peter Gabriel on both Friday and Saturday night, February 3rd and 4th, brought to you by Amicus Wealth Partners. Get more info and your tickets now at westportplayhouse.com.
Hey, it's Vic. Everyone here at News Talk STL is incredibly grateful for the growth in our business during the first 18 months since we signed on the air. We appreciate the great local businesses like Southern Armory, Rhino Shield, Steph's Pizza, and the Walner team that have become one of our many advertising partners. If your business is interested in becoming part of the News Talk STL family, simply send an email to info@newstalkstl.com. We have a wide variety of affordable advertising options. And thanks for listening to News Talk STL. Welcome home.
It's Proctor spelled like doctor for custom window fabrics and shutters. Upgrade or start from scratch. Either way, Michael is the St. Louis expert. Check him out at proctordrapery.com and then call Proctor spelled like doctor for shutters, shades, and draperies.
Proctor Drapery, the best in town. No finer window fashion can be found. Call for an appointment at your home. Spell Proctor like doctor.
Another mass shooting in California.
This week on News Talk STL.
It's a tragedy that we hear about far too often.
News, analysis, opinion.
The stories.
Classified documents. The FBI was invited into the president's home.
This really needs to be investigated
in a neutral, nonpartisan manner.
Approaching a default could raise costs on everything.
1019 and 94.1.
Now more than ever.
News Talk STL. And always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Hi, this is Kira Davis from redstate.com, and you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
Very interesting op-ed in the Washington Post editorial pages. Special counsel regarding, Trump and Biden, and I guess you could say Mike Pence right now. Dear special counsels, follow James Comey's lead. That was written by Henry Olson from the Washington Post, who joins us right now. Good morning, Henry. Appreciate you being on the show. Now, I'm going to get to that in just a minute here, but kind of give me an assessment right now. I mean, you've got a public relations and a political and everything goes along with it. Basically, you've got some gotcha politics going on, and all of a sudden, with both Republican and Democratic leaders now in the news for having classified documents in their residences or their offices, the political parties really have to be careful where they tread, because whatever they demand of the other guy, well, then you got to apply it to yourself as well. This is kind of an interesting situation.
Absolutely. And one thing that's a little surprising is how widespread this seems to be. That, you heard the original shock a year ago, how this is so secure, so important, how could this happen? And it seems to be rather commonplace that this happens, which suggests a little bit of hypocrisy on the first count from last year. But yeah, absolutely. This is the sort of thing that it has to be a question of applying the rule of law, not the rule of political gain. And if the rule of law says one thing, it needs to apply to all sides. And if this is a practice that is more common than perhaps the rule of law would narrowly permit, perhaps both sides need to recognize that.
Good morning, Henry. Gabe Pfeiffer here. So what is it that you mean when you say that the special counsel should follow James Comey's lead? What exactly is it about the way James Comey handled this that you're thinking should be replicated?
Yeah, what Comey did was investigate thoroughly, publish the evidence of his finding, make clear opinions about the conduct of Hillary Clinton, but not indict, which is to say, for somebody who wants to run for president, he effectively said, the jury is not a legal jury, it's a political jury. And the political jury is the voters of America. They should know the information, but they should be the ones who decide what happens to this person. That's exactly what the special prosecutor should do here. They should not indict Trump, but they shouldn't shy away from disclosing what they found. They cannot indict Biden while he's in office, but they should not incur any sort of unindicted co-conspirator or levy an indictment that would take effect when he leaves office, but they should be completely thorough and open with what they find, not investigate and then close it without telling the American people.
And I would assume you would think the same way about Mike Pence now that there have been some papers found in his house.
If a special prosecutor is appointed, yes, Mike Pence should be treated in exactly the same way.
Okay, so somebody, and both Republicans and Democrats, we love to say, throw him in jail and lock up the key. Hillary for prison, Trump for prison. We love to go there. Somebody's going to say, okay, but Henry, but what if laws were broken? Shouldn't we pursue it to the logical conclusion of prosecuting law breaking? Why is the Comey precedent a better way to handle this from a justice perspective?
What I would say is that what's really being charged in these cases are process crimes. That in order to minimize the risk to security, we have penalties for possession of documents outside of certain areas. And it's one thing if you're a low sergeant or something who doesn't come into possession of these very often. Putting a person like that in jail serves as a high deterrent. Here, what we're talking about is people who can be the president of the United States. You have the massive temptation to engage in selective prosecution to put your political enemies behind jail for process crimes. No actual danger to American security has been proven yet. And I think the threat in those cases is so high. That's not the road we want to walk down. That's the road to demolishing and dismantling the democracy by claiming that your opponents are so corrupt that they can never hold power. That's just not a road we want to walk down for something as actually minimally dangerous as what these people are being charged with or alleged to have done, as what we know right now.
And I think you might have mentioned, or in the article you might have mentioned the little wrinkle that the people who are the focus of these investigations, Trump, Biden, Pence, they're the heads of organizations, full of people, and they probably didn't pack these things. They probably didn't put their hands on them and put them in the boxes, and are the ones who are directly involved with having removed them from places where they shouldn't be necessarily. So, do you think the press is kind of deliberately obfuscating that aspect of this story?
Well, deliberately or not, it's being completely obfuscated. It's being indicated that these people are responsible for the possession of these documents outside of the secure areas. And in the case of somebody who left and that things were packed, it's entirely likely that they were not responsible. And then you get the question of, well, to what extent, where were they found? Like if in Joe Biden's case, you found literally papers outside of boxes by the side of a Barca lounger, you can assume that maybe that's not a staff person.
Right,
But,
yeah.
But if what you're talking about is, we were searching through and there's this box and it was marked, diaries, and we opened it up and suddenly there's classified documents, I think we should assume the guy had no knowledge of it.
The article is called Dear Special Counsels, Follow James Comey's Lead. You can find it at the Washington Post. Henry, does this say anything about maybe the need to take a look at the process of classifying documents and keeping track of those? That's what's got me scratching my head, is saying, how are we having all these classified documents not only outside of whatever room or archive they're supposed to be in, but that we're finding them in Indiana and Delaware and Pennsylvania and Florida? What's that say about our process right now?
Well, I think it says that maybe we're classifying too many things. And there's also the question of, if you're president or the vice president of the United States, you may need to read these things outside of normal business hours. Like if you're these jobs are 16-hour-a-day jobs. And at least with the case of the president, the residence is attached to the office. So it's completely normal for a president to say, well, I need to brief myself on the XXY situation. I'll bring it home to the residence. And then it gets left behind or something like that. You have to decide if this is so serious that it can't ever be outside of certain areas. Then you need to have somebody who limits the presidential access, like some sort of defense attaché who literally carries the document in locked briefcases or something like that. And if it's not that serious, we need to amend the law and the understanding to say, hey, actually the presidents need to have these things outside of certain areas, unlike sergeants in the Army or unlike rank-of-the-mill senators who apparently are only supposed to be able to access classified documents in a secure holding room.
Now, I guess, Henry, to some degree, it also would matter what the actual documents are. I mean, there are many levels of classification. Not that I would ever accuse the media of hyping something up just to get people worked up and clicking on things, but there could be low levels versus high levels of classification as well.
Yeah, and there certainly are, and that's one of the things that came out in the Trump case, and which curiously has not come out in the Biden case, is what levels of classification are we talking about? And again, these are the sorts of things that the rule of law and the rule of reason ought to recognize, but is so far being utterly obscured. And this is the sort of thing that a thorough investigation and a transparent release policy by special prosecutors can help us understand as the American people.
All right, but if they're not going to prosecute, how much weight and leverage can a special prosecutor have if it's essentially a fact-finding mission? I mean, are they likely to get past roadblocks or resistance if prosecuting is not actually on the table?
Well, this is a question of what they should declare up front and what they should do. As far as a special prosecutor, I think in order to avoid those roadblocks, you need to publicly keep open all of your angles. That as a special prosecutor, you need to be able to access these things using the legal process, which means enforcing subpoenas and the like. But in the end, I think that what they should do is follow the Comey precedent, whether they announce it up front or whether it's something that they keep in reserve so that they can get the most access to the facts that they can.
All right. Once again, WashingtonPost.com. Dear Special Counsels, follow James Comey's lead, and you can find that written by Henry Olson. And Henry, thanks again for the perspective. We're gonna chew on it right after this, and really appreciate your perspective. I told everybody, I said, I don't really know exactly what you're going to say, but I know we should hear it out. I think this is interesting stuff to chew on.
Thank you for having me on, Mike.
All right, once again, Henry Olson from the Washington Post. All right, what do you think? 314-912-1019. Do you agree or do you disagree? And in his article, by the way, he actually goes back to the Hillary Clinton example on this as well. So I'll bring that up as well. I'm really curious what everybody thinks right here on 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com. Columbo and Katie.
We are finding classified documents everywhere we look these days. On Thursday, we'll get the latest live from the White House when we talk to Christian Day Talk with the Washington Examiner at 2:25.
Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
They say good things come to those who wait, unless you bite into a Hot Pocket right out of the microwave. Waiting to see a financial advisor about retirement could also bring some pain. The pain of watching your money evaporate in a stock market decline. The pain of trying to figure out Social Security and Medicare on your own. Or the pain of writing huge checks to the IRS that you really didn't have to. At the All Financial Group, they believe the more you know, the better decisions they can make. They offer a complimentary retirement assessment. Find out where you are, how you're doing, and if there's a way to improve your retirement outcome. Don't wait. Call the All Financial Group today, 636-230-8824, or online at yourmoneymattersstl.com and set up your complimentary retirement review.
Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Wealth Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor. BWA and All Financial Group, LLC are separate companies.
Buckle up, Buttercup. What's new, fresh, and definitely shaking up the airwaves?
Johnny's Hideout in High Ridge presents the Definitely Holly Show.
Hi, this is Holly, a conservative millennial, and I am proud to be the newest member of the News Talk STL family. Every Saturday, we tackle controversial and hot topics and what's going on in our local community.
The Definitely Holly Show.
This Saturday evening at 5
on News Talk STL.
For $1 a day, if any covered appliance breaks in your home, we guarantee to fix or replace it. All makes and models, washers, dryers, refrigerators, air conditioners, and more. Guaranteed to be fixed or replaced for $1 a day. Call the Home Service Club now for free information.
800-399-3701. 800-399-3701. 800-399-3701. That's 800-399-3701.
Subscribe and watch your favorite News Talk STL shows. Mike Ferguson in the morning, The Vic Porcelli Show, Columbo and Katie, Jones and Arps. Webcam streaming on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble. Subscribe and watch News Talk STL.
Hey, this is Larry Connors. Make sure you're listening later today at 6 o'clock on News Talk STL for my show, Larry Connors USA. Now, back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
314-912-1019. Now, let me tell you why I brought up the Hillary Clinton and the email thing back in, 2016, I guess that was.
Yep.
And Henry writes about that in that article. And he points out that Hillary Clinton obviously was not indicted. And what happened is everything was exposed. And that could have been part of the reason Hillary Clinton lost
Mm-hmm.
in 2016.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really close in that election. So that, along with the fact that Hillary Clinton is Hillary Clinton.
What a horrible woman.
Yes, I'm just going to leave it at unlikable.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But his argument was the special prosecutors got in there, they investigated, they put the information out there, confirmed that she was reckless with the communications. She had the stuff on the private server. Even she tried to leverage that and do what the right does, and try to own the words. And they were literally, putting out T-shirts that said, "but her emails," that kind of stuff. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that wasn't a smart move.
No.
So that's kind of the precedent that he's talking about still, is saying, get to the bottom of it, put everything out there, and then leave it on the table, and the voters will decide next year.
But in the case of Hillary, did she not bleach everything out on her phone and then tried to destroy it with hammers? And all the evidence, she tried to totally eliminate it.
But the reason we know that is because of the investigations into it.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So, I guess the question is it right to forego a criminal indictment and let the public indict? I guess that is it right? And is it because them being the political class, we are ultimately their judge and jury, or they're the people willing to hire them, or is it more important that we uphold the rule of law for everybody the same?
I am kind of torn on this. He said, some mid-level, sergeant or lieutenant does something like this, then they can face criminal penalties because, of their role. But in this level, it's a whole different thing. I think it depends on what's in those papers. I mean, if there was a reckless disregard for national security, I don't think that losing an election and being denied a job is enough.
Right.
If there was actually a criminal act, now if it's a matter of breaking best practices or breaking a
process crime.
Process, that I agree with Henry on that, and I think that's what we're looking at right here. Depending on what we're seeing in those documents, we could have evidence of crimes that happened. And I'm saying everybody's thinking of Joe Biden with Hunter Biden, and yes, that's primarily what I'm saying. But let's not leave out the possibility that at Trump or Pence that something like that could have happened. I don't think it did,
right?
But let's leave on the possibility that it could have happened.
Sure.
If we find evidence of that, I think it's sometimes even more important to remind people that nobody is above the law once you get to the political elite class.
Yeah.
Now, again, I don't think we're going to see that especially in the Pence case, but I don't think we're going to see it in the Trump case at all. We could see it in the Biden case just because of everything we know so far about what's, I'll just say, questionable. Let's just put it that way.
All of the various smoke.
The variables in that whole situation right there. So I don't want to completely take off the table the fact that something could be found that is blatantly corrupt, and I don't want to leave it just to, they might lose the next election.
Right. I think when it comes to Hillary Clinton, part of the problem is the whole scandal, the whole thing, classified email disappearing, is the idea that she did that in order to cover up something bigger.
Right.
So the thing is, like, we couldn't get to the bigger thing because you did this lesser thing. We're not going to punish you on the lesser thing because it's so small. You know what I mean? So then that would incentivize people to basically to commit the cover up because I may not even be punished for the cover up. Yeah. So that's a problem to me.
Yeah, and Stell, I'd like to get your take here, but to that end right there, I also don't want the process to be politicized so much to say, you know what, Biden appointed me. I better go after somebody else because we found wrongdoing there. I'm going to go get him. And we know that inherently is what happens. I mean, how many people on the left were putting memes up, and the left can't meme worth crap.
No,
but
they
terrible.
suck so
They're
bad.
terrible at it. But memes of Donald Trump, in front of jail cells, and of course, there's the Hillary for prison 2016. That was, all that sort of stuff that was happening.
Yeah.
So we know that in this hyper partisan society that we live in, that things like this get politicized, and that's what we don't want to see with prosecutors. So there's got to be a fine line in there somewhere.
And I wonder where the line is drawn regarding classified documents, because now we have Miranda Devine from the New York Post writing about the Hunter Biden email that seems to focus on what went on in Ukraine and Russia, what's going on now. And now you start thinking about money laundering and everything else, how all this is funneled together. Will they actually come up with some type of decision here as to what's been going on with these documents?
And if it finds, and I think that we've already seen evidence, and I suspect we'll see more if there's truly a good faith investigation to show crimes by Hunter Biden. I'm not talking about him being exempted from the political class. I prosecute him.
Oh, yeah.
But he is right that currently Joe Biden being in office as president, they cannot indict him at the moment. Now, they can indict him after he's out of office, but they can't do it at the moment. But if we find out that there is criminal activity by investigating Joe Biden's classified documents, they say, wait a minute, this is evidence of clear criminal activity by Hunter Biden. Now, Henry was talking about, don't go symbolically get one of their top lieutenants and make a sacrificial lamb. But I don't think that's what we're dealing with if we're talking about tens of millions of dollars in this case.
Yeah.
So whether that's what it ends up finding or not, to some degree, I think Henry's right in that you don't politicize the process and, you let voters at this level, make their statement and make their case on this. But at the same time, nobody's above the law. And we can't have a kangaroo court and a circus out there. But at the very least, there must be as much as we can do to get to the bottom of it, to get us all the information. I'll be really honest, I don't care. I think there's a lot of people, I care, but I think there's a lot of people who don't care what the documents turn out to be, whether it's Republican or Democrat. I don't know that's going to change a lot of votes.
I think there's a lot of low propensity voters who, you're right, don't care.
They don't care. They are a Democrat, they're going to vote Democrat no matter what. They're a Republican, they're going to vote Republican no matter what. Or they just simply hate the other side so much. They don't care if there are pictures of that person, murdering somebody.
Right, exactly. So doing anything.
Because they can't stand the other side so much.
That's sad. Sad state of affairs.
That conversation with Henry Olsen's going up on our podcast probably in the next couple of hours. Check that out. Listen to it again. Chew on it. Love to know what you think. Vic Porcelli coming your way here in about 5.5 minutes on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Welcome home.
The Herzog Foundation is the vision of its founder, Stanley Herzog, and it exists to promote and accelerate the development of quality, Christ-centered K-12 education.
Hi, this is Daryl Jones, president of the Herzog Foundation. Our primary goal is to advance Christian education so that families and culture flourish. The legacy of Stan's business career centers around making national transit ecosystems accessible and sustainable. Likewise, the legacy of Stan's philanthropy centers around making